I thought it was a really good series. Obviously, we were on the wrong side of several of these ball games, but you look at the first game, 4-3, second game, 4-3. The second game of that doubleheader was not a game. They ran with that one. You take the next one, and then you bring up the tying run in the eighth today. That's a good club across the way who's in a window to win, and we've been public about where we're at and what we're trying to strive for over the next couple of years. So I like the way we competed. We gave them a couple today. I still like the way we took at bats and try to come back in that game.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, the series is over. The series from hell has come to an end. They lose 4 out of 5 against the Milwaukee Brewers. It's been a tough stretch, man. It's not just the performance by the Cardinals. It's also the spot they find themselves in right now. Going up against the best team in the NL Central, one of the best teams in the National League, and they fell short. What did we learn, Alex? By the way, that audio courtesy of Cardinals TV, Ollie Marmol after the game last night. What did we learn about the gap that exists right now between the Brewers and the Cardinals in your estimation?
The Brewers are still the big brother that pushes you around. I mean, the Brewers are just light years ahead of where you're at as a Cardinals team, and I don't say that as you're never going to catch them, but I mean, what they have in place, the system that they have, the pitching that they have found, and honestly, the position players that just do what they need to a T perfectly, the Cardinals are building towards that. They're striving towards that. So I said it at the beginning of the year, and I know last season they had a little bit more success against Milwaukee, but it just truly feels like Milwaukee is the class of the NL Central, kind of the class of the National League right behind the LA Dodgers, and that's what you're striving to be if you're the Cardinals. Elite pitching development and having position players that play to your identity.
Yeah, they took the old Cardinals model and modernized it. I mean, that's what they did, and then that's how they became the big brother that's just been a bully to you over the last 3 years, because the Cardinals, they would develop the scrappy players that did all the right things, right? They would do all the small things. The Brewers play good defense. They steal bases. They hit for average. They maybe have developed the homegrown superstar in Churio. You know, we'll see on what his career path continues to look like. And then the reason I said they took your model and modernized it is they went from Cardinals it's sinker ballers on the ground. Look at all the pitching that the Cardinals it's constant, just churning through new arms in that rotation. The Brewers said, we're going for guys that throw 100 miles an hour. They strike people out, and they have like sub 3.5 ERAs. Everybody that comes up from the Brewers is just freaking good. And then they've got the bullpen with it as well. Like, they are what the Cardinals, if they had modernized their model around like 2015, that's what the Milwaukee's Brewers are. They have just gone to another level and have run away with this division.
I mean, you look at the pitching matchup yesterday. It was such a perfect example of what you're talking about there, T-Bone. Like, Andre Palante, I don't think he had necessarily, I know what the results say. That was a very Andre Palante-esque performance. He got a ton of ground balls, and a lot of them got through. That was the difference. Yesterday, there were a couple. I think one went right next to Weatherholt. Another went right up the middle, where Wynn nearly was able to make a play on it, and it just slides right next to his glove. If he's 6 inches positioned to his left and he gets to that ball, the game might look a lot different than it ultimately did. But that's the difference in pitching to contact versus what the Brewers have on their side. And it was an example of what T-Bone's talking about there. I also would look at Chad Patrick as a reliever who came into that game yesterday for the Milwaukee Brewers as another example of the difference between these two teams. Last year, Chad Patrick for the Milwaukee Brewers had 127 strikeouts in 120 innings for them. If that guy was in the Cardinals rotation, he was a starter for them for the vast majority of the season. If that guy was in the Cardinals rotation, he's maybe your number 2 starter right now. He had a 3.5 ERA. They are so deep in their rotation right now that despite all of their injuries that they've handled this year, that guy has been a bullpen arm for them for almost the entirety of the season this year. That is the difference in the depth of their rotation versus the Cardinals' rotation. The Cardinals this year, when they get into a tough spot and they need bulk innings coming out of the bullpen, they went to Jared Schuster. The Brewers, when they need a little bit of depth coming out of their bullpen and they need bulk innings, they go to Chad Patrick, who had a 3.5 ERA and 25 starts for them last year. That's the difference in what the pitching pipelines currently look like.
Well, we said earlier this week that don't they have the Brewers 5 starting pitchers on the IL?
10? Sorry. Starting pitchers. Yeah,
10 pitchers.
They had 10 total pitchers on the IL.
Put 5 pitchers on the IL for the Cardinals and tell me where you think they're at.
Oh, it's a disaster. A complete disaster.
Because Brandon Woodruff's also take Dustin May off the table there, take 2 more guys out, and then 2 guys in the minor league system.
They'd be down there with Mo's Angels. That's where they'd be at.
Imagine right now, Michael McGreevy, Andre Pallante, Matthew Liberatore, and Hunter Dobbins and Bryson Motts are on the injured list.
Yeah. You're talking about a top 5 pick next year, baby.
You just would hear all like Marvel, the sky is falling, the sky is falling.
I mean, Bruce Zimmerman is suddenly in your rotation.
You're claiming guys off of waivers and trading for David Robertson from what's-his-face from the Mets.
Probably have Quinn Matthews in the rotation right now in that scenario, and you've created a bit of a 40-man mess for yourself unless these guys are on the 60-day. You probably have to DFA like Tink Hence just to make it work
or
with your roster.
Go back to we got to stretch him out and make him a starter in the big league. That's how desperate we are. I mean, that might be what they would have done.
I truly, Alex, to your point, have no idea what they would do. And the Brewers are like, yeah, we're fine.
Yeah. And that's what you're building towards. And it's all guys, too, that have the swing and miss stuff, that have the ability to pitch to the identity of that team, which is elite defense with speed. Like, that's what you're trying to get to where you take 3 guys out of our rotation, we're good. We've got the depth. And you can't always build that way, but that's why I think the Brewers are the belle of the ball these days, because they just continue to bring guys in and say, we'll turn you into a top 5 pitcher in our rotation.
It's everywhere for them, right? It's the pitchers, it's position players, where like you hear them call up somebody and you're like, never heard of that guy, not even top 100 prospect. I just assume he's good because he's in Milwaukee's system.
And also the guys
that was the Cardinals, right? When they were at their peak years, I should say.
And it's the guys they trade away too. Like, they traded Caleb Durbin away last year, and it's like, well, Brewers say this guy's not going to be any good. We capitalized on who he was, and we'll trade him away, and they do, and it never comes back to haunt the Brewers. Willie Adames. They're like, we're not paying this dude. Yep. Let him go. And how's he looking in San Francisco right now? They're trying to dump him. Like, they always know how to evaluate. I think Al Avila told us this when we had him on. If other teams can evaluate your system better than you can, you got a problem. And the Brewers are the best at evaluating not only their system, but other teams' systems as well.
And figuring out, all right, what can we do to make this guy better? Right? Like Kyle Harrison is an example of that. Quinn Priester last year was an example of that. This team clearly, whoever it is, in this scenario for both pitchers, it was the Red Sox, doesn't know how to get the most out of that guy. We can. And here's what we do. We change his pitch usage. Maybe we model this pitch a little bit differently. And I think that's going to unlock another pitch that he has. And when you do all of that, you get it out of the wash, and it's a 3.5 ERA for everybody. It doesn't seem to matter who it is. They're all different. This is not like the Yankees where everybody comes through their system and they have a changeup. Like, all of their starters are different. For some of them, like Woodruff, it's this ridiculous cutter or Burns rather. It's this ridiculous cutter that nobody can hit. For Mizorowski, he's throwing 106. And for other guys, it's, hey, we're going to have this crazy slider that plays off of our sinker. Like, everybody's got something a little bit different, and they're just really good at maximizing whoever it is. They're the modern-day Tampa Bay Rays. That's what the Brewers are. What the Rays did for a decade down there in Tampa, the Brewers have done that now in 2026 with a modern approach to it. And the Cardinals are trying to get there. And it felt like they were a mile away in this series. T-Bone, I think you made a really good point, though, before the show today. As much as it feels like they're really, really far away, just for this individual series, it's only 5 games, small sample size. Baseball, you need more than that. But for this series, they really weren't that far away in the individual games.
Yeah, like when I was sitting down this morning, had my cup of Joe, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, this feels bad. Losing 4 of 5. Really, it's just that doubleheader game with Jared Schuster coming into it, where they just really smacked you around and put the exclamation point on it, because they had every chance to win game one of this series. In fact, I think they were leading before they went to the bullpen, and then it kind of got away from them. And they were down a couple guys, right? I think JoJo and Soriano were the guys they were trying to avoid in game one, if memory serves me right. And they fall apart in that one. If you would have told me that they score 3 runs off of Mizorowski on a home run by Walker and a home run by Herrera, I'd go, well, that sounds like a win. And you ultimately lose that game. You win game 4, and then last night, I know the score was uglier than it appears, but Walker hit the 3-run homer to get you back in that game, and you lose 8-4. And as you guys we made reference to in the office, they had a chance in the 8th inning to really get back in that game as well. So it doesn't feel like the Mariners series, because that's the one that I would point to where Seattle came to town and they swept the Cardinals, and we came into the next day and we went, not a bad series, right? They were in every game. The only reason we're not saying that today, or doesn't feel that way today, I should say, is because you had that doubleheader game with Schuster, where it felt like they weren't trying, but they just were in a bind. Like that's where everything just kind of goes different compared to the Seattle series.
And if you don't have Schuster in that game, it's a 1-run game.
Exactly.
Basically. And like, effectively, the guy that you brought onto your roster that's not a legit big leaguer, he's the one that made that feel as far away as it did. And that is symbolic of your depth, right? Your lack of depth puts you into that spot where you had to or chose to call him up, depending on your perspective. And that matters. That is a real thing. And it is a difference between these two teams where one organization can handle that and the other organization cannot. That is a fair criticism of where the Cardinals are at right now. But also, there's basically one guy on your roster that allowed that thing to get away. Other than that, you're right there.
It does sting a little bit more, though. And to me, it's after seeing Gastelum pitch in these last 2 couple of outings. Like, I think you could have probably won that first game against the Brewers.
So I've had this explained to me by the Cardinals on why they didn't do that then. And it's basically, it's not about that day, it's the next day. Where if you call up Gastelum for that game on Tuesday, the second game of the doubleheader.
No, I'm talking about Monday.
What do you mean?
Like, I'm talking about if Gastelum's on the roster for that Monday game, I don't know if you lose that first one, because Fernandez is the one that blows that one up when you were up by 3, wasn't it? Because they scored 4 runs in the 7th inning.
Who are you sending down for Gastelum there? Truly asking. I'm legitimately
I think at that
asking.
point you could. You have to correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't that the day they put Rajic on the?
Yeah, but then they
15?
called Zimmerman for him.
Yeah, I know. That's
so
fair.
then what are you doing for
Zimmerman?
Zimmerman the next day?
That's the thing. I don't know what you do.
I don't
I'm
either.
truly asking.
I think Gastelum should have been on this roster before all of this series started.
I think you can make that case. I agree with you. We've been making the case for him for a couple of weeks now.
Frankly, I guess it could have been Fernandez in this spot, right? Rather than have Fernandez
already down.
No, for Monday's game. Putting Gastelum on the roster instead of Fernandez.
Because the tough part
ultimately comes up for Fernandez.
Where it gets
and
tough.
And you needed the length with Graceffo later on.
Yeah, where it gets tough in your situation is you have to select Gastelum to the 40-man. So if you do that, let's say that's where the Rajic thing comes. Because the way that they got Schuster and Zimmerman
was the 40-man roster.
Was because they put Rajic on the 60-day, and then they basically just replace eventually Gastelum with him. And the reason I bring that up is if you put him on the roster on the 40-man for Monday's game, I don't know how they would have been able to get the bulk innings with Zimmerman or Schuster. They would have been in a bind. Now, you can argue they could have just said goodbye Pozo, goodbye Prieto, and made that move on the 40-man.
But
then you also have the 26-man.
Yeah, the 40 I'm not as concerned about as the 26.
If you use Gastelum, you could send down one of Graceffo or Fernandez, either one.
But then you can't have them for the next 15 days.
Yeah, you're in a tough spot. I mean, it's all very complicated the way they have to do it.
One way you could have made it work was Gastelum in that second game. I still continue to go back to the Mott's thing. I think Mott's was the one where, that game on Sunday, I have made the case that they should have called him up instead of getting those 2 innings at AAA. Just get those innings here. And then, yes, you are without him for the next 15 days, but you make that move first. Then you make the move for whatever it is they did over the next couple of days with Fernandez / Graceffo, Schuster, all of that stuff. And then for the Schuster spot, because you had those 2 innings from Mott's on Sunday, your bullpen should be a little fresher, and that allows you to avoid the Schuster spot. You go to Gastelum in that game, and then you're better set up for the rest of the week. That would be my way of going about it instead of what they did. But what they have as a retort to that for Gastelum on Tuesday, given what they did and not the Mott's thing, is if you go to Gastelum in game 2, you're screwed for that next day if you don't get 6+ innings out of McGreevy. And you kind of have to plan because apparently he was fried or whatever. You have to plan for not getting those 6 innings. And that's why they did it the way that they did. Again, I go back to the Mott's thing. I think that was the original spot where I disagreed with their plan. But after that, once you make the call on Mott's, you kind of have to go about it, I suppose, the way that they did. But it all goes back to that. That was the decision, and everything else from there is the inflection point. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. We've got a great show, I believe, lined up for you guys today. We'll get to Ask Us Anything coming up at 11:45. Mike McKenna joins us at 12 for his weekly Friday hit. We'll talk to Brad Thompson, Cardinals analyst for Cardinals TV, in the 12 o'clock hour. But next, Alex mentioned Luis Gastelum. We'll get into him coming up next. How does he change the feel of this bullpen? Because watching him yesterday, boy, is that changeup a real threat for him. We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll get to Luis Gastelum here in just a moment. But, Alex, we got to talk about the starter for the Cardinals AAA affiliate last night. None other than Quinn Matthews, who's on an absolute heater
Soon
right
to be
now.
Starter for the Cardinals?
I think so, yeah. So Quinn Matthews last night goes 7 innings, allows 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, 0 earned runs against Gwinnett. And this is now a continuation of what has been a really strong month plus for Quinn Matthews. You go back to June 4th, and in that stretch, over the course of 7 starts, he's gone 39 innings, and he has allowed a total of 8 earned runs in that stretch. Here are the strikeout numbers, Alex. 9, 6, 5, 4, 7, 7, 7. In his last 3 starts, 7+ strikeouts in each of them, 2 or fewer earned runs allowed in each of them. I don't know how long the Cardinals want to take this before they're like, okay, he's fixed all of the issues that he was working on early in the season when he had serious walk problems. Velo was still down a bit. He was not getting deep into these games. But I think we're getting very close to the point where he's deserving of a call-up. And I think the guy that, for me, I would circle as having the most pressure on him over the next, I would say, 2 weeks, is Matthew Liberatore. Libby has another start prior to the break. He'll probably get another one coming out of the break as well. And if he looks as bad as he has been previously, I think you've got to make the switch, man. I think we're getting close to the time where you make the switch with Libby, you put him into the bullpen, and maybe you trade JoJo. Maybe you decide to DFA one of these guys from your bullpen and you just put Libby into that spot. But Quinn Matthews is pitching too well right now to ignore that performance. And it's not as though this is a young guy anymore. He's almost 26 years old by the end of the regular season. There is no reason, in my opinion at least, to slow play this too much longer. This is a guy that's part of your future. He has legit swing and miss, big time changeup, big time slider, decent velo as well. This is somebody that should be a huge part of your future, and I think it begins early in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, Libby's a really good one, and I don't know if it's pressure, but I think the spot that he's going to replace is Dustin May. Like, I really wonder if it's what we talked about yesterday, to where the Cardinals are able to sell this as, look, yes, we're moving on from guys that helped us get to this point, but we're replacing them with guys that are going to be pinpoints of the future, to where maybe it's Quinn Matthews out of the All-Star break, but once the trade deadline is passed, it's Quinn Matthews and Matthew Liberatore in the rotation because of what Quinn Matthews has done. But regardless, we just spent time talking about the Brewers and what they've done. You hope this is the start of that for the Cardinals, to where you start to see this influx of young pitching that they have drafted, developed, and put into position to succeed for this Cardinals team. And Quinn Matthews falls into the same line as what Blaze Jordan was doing, what Nelson Velasquez was doing, and Nathan Church was doing, to where you're performing to the point where we have to reward you for it. So if it's sooner rather than later for Quinn Matthews, then you're right. Matthew Liberatore should be a little concerned. I just wonder if that's going to be the replacement for Dustin May, and they view this as, let's get some assets.
Yeah, I wonder if they wait another month and they make the call on that, right? Like, either Dustin May is traded because they get a haul for him, or Matthew Liberatore is pushed into the bullpen whenever they make that move with JoJo. Maybe we're talking about 4 more weeks before we see Quinn Matthews up here. I would be a little disappointed if that's the case.
If it's
I don't think you need to wait 4 weeks to be able to find out what he is. This is a guy that, in my opinion, is where Michael McGreevy was at this point last year, where you're wasting his bullets right now down at AAA. This is a guy that is good enough to translate to the major league level. I have no idea what it will look like when he gets here, but he's deserving of the opportunity. And you brought up a lot of guys that had already been in that spot, Alex. I would add Jimmy Crooks to that mix.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Jimmy Crooks was tearing the cover off the ball. You didn't get good results up here at the big league level from Pedro Pages, and they showed the willingness to make that switch. I think they were every bit as committed to Gorman, Vic, and Pages as they are right now to some of these starting pitchers that are in their rotation. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think we are now at a place where he's deserving of this call-up sooner rather than later. You're not going to do this, obviously, today after he just started. But starting in the second half, I think we should be on Quinn Matthews' call-up watch.
Yeah, I'm with you. I lean where Alex is coming from, where I wonder if they just wait till the deadline, and then if you have May, then you can just put him in Libby's spot if Libby's still not pitching well. And if you trade May, boom, he just comes up. I've brought this up before. They open in the second half with 20 in 20 days. Mm-hmm. I wonder, would you just go straight to a 6-man rotation out of the break?
I'm good with it.
Again, I don't know how you make it work with the 40-man, but you'd have to send out a bullpen arm. I'm okay with that. But the reason I bring it up is they love getting starters 5 days rest in between starts. I don't know if they want to do that coming straight out of the break since everybody's had a bunch of time off, but that would be the time to try and do that. You just go into this, and then that way you can have kind of an internal competition with Matthews and Liberatore in that 6-man rotation. And on top of it, then if you trade May, boom, Libby has still been built up in this time, so he doesn't go to the bullpen, then potentially have to try and build back up. The only tough part about it, and I admit that as I say this aloud, is okay, well, now you're going for a decent stretch there with one bullpen arm short, with very little flexibility already on the 40-man. So if there's a reason they wouldn't do it for an extended period of time, is because of what I just said there. But they could do it at least once, like midway through this stretch, give him a spot start, and maybe keep him up here as you get closer to the deadline, which will be at the very back end of this stretch on August 3rd.
I was about to say, the irony here is, like, you're basically just talking about calling him up for the deadline.
Call him up right at the deadline.
That's effectively what it would be, is because that 6th game would be roughly July 22nd.
Yeah.
And that would be the potential spot start for him. And then you either keep him here, or after you make the move, you could go to like Dobbins for that next turn through the rotation, and then you call him up for that next time around. But yeah, I think we're getting very close to Quinn Matthews' time here in St. Louis, and I think he's deserving of this. And this is a great story for the Cardinals. Their development team put in a ton of work. A couple of years ago, Quinn Matthews flew through the system, and it was a surprise to everybody how quickly he was able to rise through the ranks. Honestly, kind of mirrored the trajectory of Andre Pallante from when he first came through the Cardinal system. But then he had a setback. Last year just did not go the way that anybody would have wanted it to for Quinn Matthews. I think some of that was adjusting to the AAA ball that he was using, and some of it was
the injury.
Yeah, the injury that he had, and then just a lack of velocity. Like, there was just a lot of stuff that he had to work through at the AAA level. Honestly, I'm glad he did, because now he knows how to work through that stuff, and he didn't have to learn on the fly how to adjust at the major league level, which is the most difficult thing in the world to do. And so now when he arrives, he's going to have that in his memory bank of, all right, this is what I need to do if I run into a rough stretch. He did the same thing this year. Got off to a slow start for about 6 weeks, rebounded, and boom, he figured it out. We saw that with Mason Wynn. And he had that like 2-week stretch where at every turn, whenever he would get to the next level in the minor leagues, he would struggle.
Yeah.
And then he would flip it around and he'd figure out how to adjust to the next level. And we saw something similar with him here at the big league level. That first approach when he came up, awful, absolutely abysmal. Went into the offseason, had that experience in the back of his mind, and he was able to adjust. Maybe we see something similar with Quinn Matthews, where he gets up to this level, he takes some punches, gets knocked down a bit, goes into the offseason, and next year comes back up better for it, and he becomes a guy that never goes back down to the AAA level because of the experience that he got this year at the major league level. On the Gastelum side of things, Alex,
yeah,
I think this guy has closer potential. I think that's what we're watching right now, because he has a pitch that you can point to and say, that's like 80 grade. Like, there are very few changeup in baseball that move the way that his changeup does, and that is a pitch right now that is taking Major League Baseball by storm. We've seen this with, like, the splitter came through, and that was one that, oh my God, for a year it was the talk of baseball. The sweeper was the same thing. Now it's the changeup. What's old is new again, right? We're back to the changeup in Major League Baseball. His is as good as you'll see. I wonder if that allows them the flexibility to make other moves in their bullpen at the deadline if they decide to sell. Like, does Riley O'Brien become expendable because of Luis Gastelum's presence on the roster right now, or he can just take over in that role for Riley O'Brien?
Yeah, I heard Chip and BT talking about it last night on the broadcast, and they're absolutely right. It feels a lot like what Devin Williams is. His pitch. I think they
that's a comp I could think of.
They were joking around saying, like, this one's going to have a nickname like Devin Williams' Airbender is, and like, it totally makes sense when you see it in action. I'm with you. My only concern with that is we were saying that with Matt Swanson last year, to where it's like this guy could be the closer.
Very different. This gets swing and miss. Matt Swanson never did.
No, I know. I'm just going off of, like, there was so much excitement around it to where it's like this guy has that closer potential, and then we all saw what happened early on with him. I'm not denying that pitch is nasty. I do think Riley O'Brien should be somebody that becomes available if you're selling, and if you are, give those guys that opportunity because you don't know what you have. Maybe you have a Devin Williams for the next 5 years controllable in your system. And with that nasty of a pitch and the pitching staff and how they've worked with these guys, I mean, that's how you, once again, you sell Dustin May and you tell people we've got Quinn Matthews. If you sell Lars Nootbaar, you tell people we've got Josh Baez. You sell Riley O'Brien, you say we've got Luis Gastelum. So that's what you want to do when you're a rebuilding team. You sell pieces off, but you say, oh, we've already got the replacement for that, and it's going to be better than what that was.
Yeah, and I'm with you guys. Look, he's worth monitoring while he's up here because the stuff is just messy. I mean, that changeup's disgusting that he's got there. And trying to figure out, because I said in the office today, I was like, I don't know how that fastball plays, because when I think closer nowadays, I think, fireball, breathing, 100 mile an hour, Chapman, those kind of guys that are coming out of the pen. He's throwing like 93 on his fastball. And then I went back and looked before you even mentioned, because I didn't get a chance to watch the game last night. I was at a concert. I will go and I look and see what his fastball velo was for Devin Williams. 93 with the airbending changeup that you're talking about. Like, it's possible he can become that. Now, Williams never really adjusted the closer's role well, but
he had it for a couple of years.
Even if he doesn't become a closer, like if he can become an effective setup man, sign me up for a guy that's got control like he does.
It's been impressive to see this in the early going. Somebody on the text line, by the way, asks, that would be, if he's so dominant, why did they wait so long to bring him up? Our bullpen has been awful most of the year. First of all, that's not true. Bullpen has been pretty good. It doesn't feel that way because every time you see a blow up, it feels like it's the end of the world. But by the numbers, the Cardinals bullpen for the most part has been pretty solid actually this season. The reason they didn't bring him up, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I agree with Alex. I think it should have happened earlier. Should it have happened like this week? There are other factors that could have potentially gone into that, but I think you could have easily made the argument, and we did, that he should have been up here prior to this week of baseball for the Cards. He's gone like 18 consecutive scoreless appearances down at AAA. So this was not new. His development has been a long time coming. I do think it's fair to question, why did it take this long to get the call up for him? And I think this may be something that we need to have on our radar, is for all the good that comes with this front office, and I think they've mostly done an excellent job this season. They are very patient, I will say, or deliberate with their pitching development. That was a criticism of Heim when he was with Boston, fair or otherwise. They are very deliberate in the way that they go about their pitching development, and they give guys time to develop and marinate at the AAA level before calling them up here to the major league level. So that may annoy fans, but that seems to be, at least early on, what their actions are telling you. Coming up next, do the Blues have what it takes to make this move? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell to the Brewers yesterday 8-4 as they dropped 4 of 5 at home against Milwaukee, and they have their final 3-game set before the All-Star break starting tonight. 7:15 first pitch. Chris Sale on the mound for the Atlanta Braves. Kyle Leahy will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll get into Ask Us Anything here in just a little bit. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. By the way, if you're interested, new edition of the Redbird Report available right now. YouTube.com/101ESPN STL. And while we're here, we're going to have some new opportunities to potentially advertise on the Redbird Report or the Last Minute Blues podcast soon. It's a little bit of a different package. So if you had in the past have wondered, hey, what's it going to be like to get involved in that? Reach out to myself or Alex Ferrario or Tanner Hendrickson, and you can potentially partner with one of those podcasts here on 101 ESPN. Again, just check us out over on YouTube, youtube.com/101 ESPN STL. Reach out if you're interested in being a partner with any of those shows.
And you know what? Don't listen to T-Bone or don't listen to BK when he says or. Maybe the word and is what you like. Maybe you can make this like Boardwalk in Monopoly where you buy both of them.
We do have packages that can get you in on both the Last Minute Blues podcast and the Redbird Report and Alex and BK and Ferrario.
We've got whatever package you want.
All right, so over on The Athletic earlier today, Shayna Goldman, who I think does excellent work for them, man. She's one of my favorite NHL analysts. She wrote about what Alexander Nikishin can offer as a trade target. And she wrote about his game, what he brings to the table, what some of the liabilities are, what the contract's going to be, all these different things. And frankly, just why is this guy even available?
Yep.
He's 24 years old. He's a defenseman. He's big. He can move the puck. He has a big shot. Okay, so why would the Carolina Hurricanes trade him? And the answer was basically, I don't know, man. Carolina does things in a different kind of way.
Wild, dog.
So they may view this as, we can just get a 60% of the player for 20% of the cost situation, and we can replace any third-pair defenseman, we believe, because of our system.
Yep.
Alex, after reading this piece, and anybody that has not done so, I recommend checking it out. But for anybody that hasn't, did anything about your opinion on Nikishin change based upon what Shayna Goldman said?
No, if anything, it kind of incentivized me even more to want to go trade for Nikishin. I mean, like, she points out some of the flaws and concerns, and you've said this before, BK, to where it's like, look, anytime you trade for a Carolina Hurricanes defenseman, it worries me a little bit. And I totally get that because their system works so well that when you leave it, you get flawed. And in Shayna's piece, it talks about how, there was a little bit of protection with Nikishin because he is a guy that will blow the zone to go after the offensive upside. And, you use some protection in that front. But, man, the more I went through kind of some of the numbers that she was pointing out, you see the style that he is. He's a big body defenseman that's not afraid to use his body, but he also incentivizes in the offensive zone, and he gets shots through. That's the part where it was like, man, it matches Jim Montgomery to a T. So I went and looked at this. Nikishin last year had 321 shot attempts, according to Hockey Reference. You know how many Blues defensemen last year had more than 300 total shot attempts?
I'll say 0.
I'm thinking 0 too.
It's 0. The closest was Justin Falk, who had 242 with the Blues.
He got dealt at the deadline.
Yeah. Philip Broberg had 253. Colton Parayko, 246. Cam Fowler, 226. What? Now, do you know how many defensemen had more shots on goal than Alex Nikishin with 122?
122?
More Blues defensemen that had 122.
I'll say 0. How many Blues players had more shots than that?
Now you got me going down a path that I wasn't planning.
How many was it?
It was 320.
How many shots on goal?
Shots on goal, 122. Zero defensemen had 122 shots on goal for the Blues.
4 players: Kyrou, Snuggy, Holloway, Booch.
Yeah. So
Thomas wasn't even at that number.
Nope.
And mind
had
you,
102.
And mind you, Nikishin was a third pair defenseman for Carolina. Now he averaged 18 minutes a night, but that was a third pair defenseman. So to me, I saw that and said, okay, I think Shayna had his contract at like 6.9. I think he's probably looking for $8 million.
Yeah, that's what she said. She said $8 million is probably the asking price.
That to me is worth $8 million for a 24-year-old defenseman. If I can lock him up for, let's say, 5 years and put him as my second pair. He's not my number one defenseman, but he is a guy that will play 20 minutes a night right below Philip Broberg. And my defense is set. I've got Jiricek, I've got Mayu, I've got Broberg, I've got Nikishin. Those are my future. And I still have Parayko for the next 5 years. So to me, it just incentivized me more to say, I think you should be aggressive and go after this player.
Bill Marsh on YouTube says, no way on Nikishin. Why? We have Lindstein, Jiricek, Ralph, Fisher, Tucker. Nikishin will cost $8 to $10 million. I think, like, Jiricek is just a different conversation. He's a right-handed defenseman. This guy's on the left side. You can have both of them. But with Ralph, Fisher, and Tucker, those guys are extra defensemen.
Yeah,
the expectation for any of them is hopefully they get to the NHL level. Yeah. And maybe they become 6th or 7th D-men. This guy is already the quality of a 4th defenseman at 23 years old with the potential to be more than that. And so, like, the question there is on Lindstein, what is his upside? And Alex, I think that's a fair question. But when I look at the way that the Blues are making over their defensive core, size has clearly been a priority. Lindstein is the exception in that rule. And this guy is 6'3". So the reach, the size, the speed, the shot, all of that would seem to indicate the direction the Blues are going. Nikishin would be a better fit for that than Theo Lindstein currently is. So I would just rather have that player, and I think in this scenario, you're probably trading Lindstein in the deal to get Nikishin. I wonder what the rest of the package would look like. Yeah. And that is a spot where I don't have the answer. I don't know what Carolina would be looking for. Are they going to call and say, hey, we want Jake Neighbors, or there's no deal to be made here? Maybe. And if that's the case, do you say no?
Yeah, I think I say no to that.
Okay.
As much as I can understand people saying, like, what are you talking about? You trade Neighbors for Nikishin if he's this good. I think Jake Neighbors is just one of those guys that's like a DNA piece for a roster, and I think that's paying too much for a guy that Carolina does not want to pay. His name's out there, not because they think he's a bad defenseman, it's because they don't want to pay him $8 million.
So what do you think they'd be asking for if not Neighbors?
So I think they're going to look for a replacement and a cheap replacement on defense, so I think Lindstein is probably part of it. I don't think they want draft picks, but it wouldn't surprise me if Tulsky looks at this and says, well, let's get draft picks so that we can use those as assets to flip for a guy this season. So I'm sure maybe they would ask for a first or a second round pick, not so much that they want that to draft, more so we want that to flip to go get a guy who's better at the deadline. And then I would imagine, I wonder if their priority is more dumping the Kotkaniemi contract than it is bringing something back that helps them now.
But do they have cap limitations right now?
Not now, but I think they're probably just looking at it. And again, Carolina's the type of team that doesn't like to spend a whole lot of money. I think they're looking at this as this is dead cap, and we'd rather get rid of that so we have more space to go for bigger moves if they become available.
Yeah, if they're going to get rid of the Kotkaniemi contract, I would think that's to sign Nikishin, because that's really the only limiting factor right now in doing so.
That's the part that I don't. Maybe they just view this as he's not worth $8 million.
Agreed, but that's why I don't know the need to dump Kotkaniemi if you don't have Nikishin on the roster, because their lineup appears to be basically set right now.
Yeah,
it's really good.
And they don't need goal scoring from the wing, so that's why I don't even know if they'd want Jake Neighbors. They've got this Bradley Nadeau, who we talked yesterday. He's like the first 20-year-old to score 30 goals in the American Hockey League. Their center depth is Aho and Stankoven. They're not worried about that, even with an aging Jordan Stahl. And their defense is essentially set. They just need a replacement for the third pair. So I guess you can say maybe goaltending, but they just won the cup with Brandon Bussey. So they're a team that's really weird. I don't know what they want other than replacing Nikishin with a cheaper defenseman, which is why I wonder if their incentives are to clear some of the cap off the books that they don't want, or give us assets so that we can flip those assets to go trade for something when the bigger fish becomes available.
That makes a lot of sense. Once you said that, I wonder if it's a first plus Theo Lindstein for Nikishin.
Yeah.
And now you have flexibility, you have assets, and you could then, if you get into a spot at the deadline where you need a winger, you need a forward, you need a defense, whatever it may be, you can go out and make that move, because in that scenario, you now have, if you're Carolina, your first-round pick for the next 4 years, plus you have the Blues' first-round pick next year and the Stars' first-round pick in 2028 from that Mikko Rantanen deal. So you're flush with assets.
Yeah.
And you can kind of make whatever move you need to at this year's trade deadline if you're going to make another push for a Stanley Cup. Yeah. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. Ask us anything coming up next. I like this question. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for Ask Us Anything. If you guys have any questions, sports or otherwise, we'll get to them now. From the 636. Guys, would you trade Binnington for Nikishin? Please text back. I'm away from my radio.
Well, I should start texting right now. Yes, I would.
That's a really interesting one.
Yeah. I don't know if Binnington is going to be back after this year. And if it's 1 year of Binnington versus 6 years of Nikishin, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, the hard part with that is all of the good goalies are off the market now.
Would they almost have to send you back a goalie? Like, would you take on
Kochetkov?
Yeah.
They wouldn't trade him, though. That's the thing.
I don't know how you can, because if this was prior to free agency, I think it makes a ton of sense. But you're right, most goalies are gone.
If I go to the market right now, let's see what goalies are out there. Because, I mean, a lot of them have come off. Like Peter Mrazek. Would you just go sign Peter Mrazek for a 1 year deal at $5 million?
Absolutely.
Cam Talbot, give him 1 year. Connor Ingram,
yes.
Yeah, if I'm
to me is not something that would preclude me from going out and getting a 24-year-old defenseman.
Okay, that was a Zamboni driver.
I mean, he's not available. He can't play.
That was hockey trivia. That was a trick question for you. Like,
his contracts have been traded like 5 times.
I wouldn't do it for a guy that I'm only getting for a year because I don't think that makes sense. But if I'm trading it for Nikishin, yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat.
And I can't imagine Carolina does it just because it doesn't make much sense, in my opinion, from an asset standpoint.
And I don't know if they want a goalie.
Because goalies just aren't that valuable. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. It's a underpay by the Blues.
I should clarify. I think this is like Lindstein plus Bennington.
Yeah,
like you get rid of the first-round pick, you add in Bennington instead, or Bennington plus a first, and you get to keep Lindstein in this
That
scenario.
would make sense.
I just don't think they want to...
straight up, I was like, it's kind of an underpay.
Agreed.
I just don't think they want a goalie. Like, I think they view Kochetkov as the next number one for them, but they just want a cup with Bussy, so they're probably thinking, let's let these two guys go. So I just don't think the incentive for them. Plus, that's a guy on a 1 year deal, and what are we talking about with Nikishin right now? They don't want to pay him $8 million. If Binnington has a good year, he's going to want $8 million. And are they going to want to pay him that?
Well, I think that's a deal. That's something you figure out later on if you're Carolina. They don't seem to be a team that cares about the 1 year contract situation. They did it with Jake Gensel. They did it at the deadline and then flipped him ultimately with
but I think they thought they were getting Gensel back when they thought he was re-signing and
but
then
they knew
he
there
turned
was
it.
risk.
Yeah,
and like in this scenario, you're going for a cup. And then if he doesn't re-sign, whatever, we'll figure it out next year. And you potentially get another asset in return. I don't think it would be straight up for Bennington.
No, yeah.
I think this is a scenario where you're going Bennington plus either Lindstein or a first-round pick, depending on what they value more. All right, from the Ivan Herrera worshiper. Guys, are donuts a breakfast treat, or could they be used as a dessert after dinner? I think it could be either.
Both.
Yeah.
Why not both?
I lean more breakfast.
Oh, God, are you kidding me? Nothing's
nothing's
better than a good...
dessert.
Oh, my God, are you...
Really?
Oh, yeah, nothing's better than a good old chocolate Long John after you eat a nice dinner.
Yeah?
A glass of milk with it. You go ice in the milk or no ice in the milk?
Oh, no.
I don't like
disgusting.
milk, so neither.
Who doesn't like milk?
I hate milk.
Are your bones brittle?
I mean, I think they're fine.
I mean, look at them.
Big Milk has you all...
Well, yeah, I got...
Go into the conspiracy theories on Big Milk. You'll come out on the other side saying to yourself, why do we drink this stuff?
I got lactose intolerance, and I still drink it because, I want my bones to be good. Never broke a bone, though, Brandon.
Neither have I, and I don't drink milk.
That's false.
It's totally nonsense. Like, you don't actually need to drink milk. Okay. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line.
I'll listen to the doctors, Brandon.
Anything from the 618. Where do you guys see McDavid finishing his career? Do you think he'll be in Edmonton forever?
Yes. Oh, his career. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he stays in Edmonton. I think the noise of him going elsewhere. I think they'll put a competitive enough roster there with him to where he feels like he's got a chance to win in Edmonton, and you go down as a legend. So I think he stays.
What Alex said.
Yeah, I agree. I think him and Draisaitl will probably stick together the whole time.
They got Frederik Andersen now, and I think that's a competitive goalie for them in the regular season. You've got off of a bad contract in Darnell Nurse, so I think they stay competitive.
I'm also rooting for that. I think it's cool when guys stay in one market for their entire career.
I'm with you.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 314, guys, no team in Major League Baseball is currently on pace to lose 100 games this year. LA is the worst. They have 98 losses as their current projection. Is this a sign of too many mediocre teams throughout Major League Baseball? I think there's some truth to that, yes. I would also add this. I think the bigger thing that's happening right now is there are very few true tanking teams in Major League Baseball. And you have to be so bad. This was the point that I tried to make, maybe poorly, before the season. You have to be so bad to lose 100 games in Major League Baseball. Like, truly awful. Think about how many warts there are on the Cardinals roster this season. They are on pace to finish above 500. Think about how bad some of the recent rosters have been for the Cardinals. They have not lost more than like 85 games in a season. So, yeah, I think that's the bigger piece of this is there just aren't teams that have completely torn things down to the studs this year the way that there have been really for about a decade.
Yeah, and I think we saw, I don't know if it's teams learned a lesson from the failed experiments of it, because for all the tanks we've seen, you can point to the Astros, you can point to the Cubs, but then you can also point to teams that just didn't do it right and ended up tanking upon tanking, or like the Orioles, right? They tanked and they haven't gotten anywhere with it. I also think what they did, and it was smart at the time, and it's why I love the system, was the lottery system. I think it really helps, because I think you can only pick top 3 or top 5, like 2 consecutive years or 3 consecutive years. So, like, you can't really tank. And even if you do, it's not a guarantee you end up with the number 1 overall pick like it used to be. So I think that's helped out a ton as well.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line from the 636. Guys, do you think we'll start seeing holdouts in hockey with a guy like Thomas making $1 million less than the market? Thomas has no leverage. He can't do anything.
Well,
we see
a player
holdouts.
like him.
We see holdouts, though.
In the NHL.
Yeah, but you can't hold out either, because he can't even negotiate a new contract.
Correct. Yeah. In the NHL, you can't negotiate a new contract until you have 1 year remaining on your deal. So it's different than football in that regard, where they can kind of negotiate at any time and just like scrap the old deal if they're underpaid relative to the market. I think the only scenario where that would potentially present itself is for guys like Jake Neighbors next year, Jimmy Snuggerud next year, where they're going to their RFA status. And even then, what's the leverage you really have?
Yeah. You're
just going to sit out the year?
Well, and most teams go to arbitration with the player, too.
Exactly.
And then once it gets to arbitration, it's settled, and then that's the contract they get for 1 year. I mean, we see holdouts. McTavish did a holdout with Anaheim, which is part of the reason I think he struggled so much last year, because he missed like the first 3 weeks of training camp. So there's holdouts. It's just, you can't. There's protection to the teams that you can't hold out, because there's no negotiating contracts. Once you sign, you're there.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, we'll be joined by our friend and the Cardinals analyst for Cardinals TV, Brad Thompson. But next, Mike McKenna stops by for his weekly conversation on behalf of Macadoodles. We'll talk to the former NHL goalie next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Happy to go out to the Kiley and Thompson hotline for our weekly conversation with Mike McKenna, the former NHL goalie. He joins us each and every week on behalf of Macadoodles. Mike, appreciate the time, man. How you doing today?
Well, aside from my back, everything's great. I decided to install a dishwasher at about 8 p.m. last night. And then,
Mike.
Yeah, which I tell you what, though, that stuff was clean as a whistle this morning. But I hopped on the ice like usual with our Friday morning crew, Kirkwood, which had been skating at Webster. And I wasn't very good, fellas. So not that I'm ever like a dynamo as a forward, but it was nice to be home, though. Spent the last week in Tampa Bay and get back to the locker room here, and everybody was still buzzing about free agency with the Blues and everything else that's going on. The offer sheets that are flying around the NHL, a lot of interesting things, fellas.
Okay, I want to get into that, but real quick, because you brought out the dishwasher, I had this argument with my buddy, and I can't ask BK this because he doesn't fix things.
That's true.
How long, Mike, into fixing something or installing something do you get to the point where you say, F this?
And call somebody?
No, and just walk away from it and say, I'll do it tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty, well, here's the thing. I'm a glutton for punishment, guys. I'm going to do things until it's done. I can't help it. There's no stopping. It has to be fixed. But I start to begin to feel that after I bleed for the second time.
That's fair. My buddy said, he's like, it takes me a good hour. I said, it takes me 10 minutes. My expectation is I know how to do this, and when I get in and I do it and it doesn't work, I'm like, screw this. I'm not doing any more of it.
Yeah, when I bleed the first time, I chalk it up to my own ineptitude and stupidity. When I bleed the second time, inevitably, I'm blaming sharp corners and poor design because it can't be my fault on the second time. So,
nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody.
Yeah, the classic Zoolander. So anyway, though, it's in. It worked this morning. I didn't flood the joint, so I feel pretty good about
That's
it.
all that matters.
Macadoodles is doing great, so life's good.
All right, Mike, I do want to get your thoughts on the big news in the NHL, which is that Leo Carlsson offer sheet. $18 million. I would say so.
I thought it was the Stanley Cup names.
Yeah, nope, $18 million for Leo Carlsson. The Anaheim Ducks decide to match that contract. How much? Because the contract itself is fascinating, but it does have ripple effects throughout the entire league, including for the Blues with pending RFAs. How much does that contract change upcoming negotiations for other guys around the NHL, including for somebody like a Jimmy Snuggerud, for example?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's seismic, but it's also reflective of how the economy of the NHL is just that different now than it was even 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And remember us having this conversation a couple weeks ago about Elias Pettersson and his contract scaring us at $11 million. And now we're giving a guy who's never been a point a game, 18 schmil, to go play the sport. Now, here's the thing. Leo Carlsson is a driver. He's an excellent young player. I mean, he's, in retrospect, could have been a first overall pick. This is a pretty good player. I think it's really interesting how it all played out, though, in that it was not a given that Anaheim was going to match this offer sheet. And when you talk to different NHL GMs around the league, there were different opinions on how to handle this. Do you take those first 4-round picks? Do you match the offer sheet and then maybe you trade this player in a year? So once you get past the first signing bonus, you're not under that, $90 million. There's some different tactics, and I'm not sure it's completely done yet for Pat Verbeek, the GM of the Anaheim Ducks. But this contract and these offer sheets, it just shows that teams now are seeing what happens with clubs like Vegas, with clubs like Carolina, Dallas, that have been aggressive, Florida, Tampa Bay. These teams have all been aggressive in acquiring the talent that they wanted. If you can get somebody locked up in their youth, in their prime, you're not going to lose them unless they demand a trade. Which seems to be happening more and more.
Only for the USA guys.
Yeah. And nobody wants to play in Canada. So if you're
fair.
It's real, guys. It's not even a punchline anymore. It's just Marty St. Louis is the only team, the Canadians are the only team in Canada anybody wants to play for. That you might even consider as a free agent, unless you're Bobrovsky and he took it because he got more term with the Toronto Maple Leafs and goal. So,
also, he's 100 years old.
Nobody wanted to pay him until he was 50.
Well, he might. He's pretty flexible fella, but I just think you're going to start seeing this more often. I don't think you're going to see these $90 million offer sheets that are still a bit of a reach like you saw for Leo Carlsson. But I mean, honestly, guys, I really feel like Doug Armstrong is the one that led the charge on this. Like, everybody saw how good those offer sheet signings looked for Dylan Holloway and for Philip Broberg. And I think around the league it had more of a ripple effect from that standpoint to be aggressive, to go for a player, than it really does even the dollars that are coming down the pipe.
So I'm curious, just the ripple effect with this too, Mike, because in the past, now I know Bowman and Doug didn't seem to have any bad blood, although some of the reports that Edmonton wouldn't deal with St. Louis may steer that differently. But how much of this do you think is going to be vengeance from a guy like Pat Verbeek towards Philadelphia? Because, I mean, the guy was known as the little ball of hate when he played in the NHL. I have to imagine there's going to be some bad blood moving forward with Pat Verbeek and Danny Briere, and does that kind of trickle down to where more offer sheets create less conversations amongst general managers?
Well, I hope there's bad blood. It would make it more interesting, but I don't think it's going to happen like we play out, maybe. Seems like this is just kind of the reality. I mean, people do things like this that are business-oriented. I'm surprised that there would be any report of Edmonton not wanting to deal with St. Louis, because Edmonton, they screwed that thing up. It wasn't St. Louis's fault. I mean, Edmonton blew it. Like, there's no other way around it. So you can walk around with your tail between your legs and cry wolf when you screwed it up. That doesn't hold a lot for me. This was one that I think either side was probably going to make out okay on this. Like, I don't think Anaheim looks at this in a great light, because Carlson's they're going to pay him $5 million more than they thought they were going to. They probably thought they were going to land at 12 or 13 on this deal. And he got a massive, massive deal out of it. But I just don't think those teams will be bad. But I tell you what, if there's anybody in the league, it is Pat Verbeek, because he was probably number one on my list of people I absolutely couldn't stand. Like, when he'd come in and he had a terrible pattern on his stick, just a big shovel. Like, it was a Christian Diamond slapsock pattern blade that looked awful, and he taped it like a Hoosier, and he had an awful half shield that he'd wear up, and he'd just stick his nose in everybody's face. He was terrible, terrible to play against. But he's exactly the player I would want on my team,
He's the old version of what Brad Marchand is today.
I mean, matching noses, everything. So I don't think there's going to be bad blood there. I just don't. If anybody's going to have bad blood and not make a deal, I think you're putting your team at a disadvantage, because you need to be willing to work with any club, even if it's an in-division rival. If it helps your team, you have to be willing to do it in today's NHL.
Mike McKenna joining us for another few minutes here on BK and Ferrario. Mike, if we go down a hypothetical scenario where Jimmy Snuggerud scores 35 goals this season, what do you think his ask would be on an RFA deal?
Oh, it's going to be an easy 12 mil. I really believe that. I think you can liken it to what Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas's deals were when they got theirs, because those deals at $8 million in that world, that felt like a lot of money, right, guys? Like that was like, oh, okay, that's 2/3 of what a 12 mil deal could look like for a Snuggerud or someone else. And when you look at how much this game has grown on revenues and salary cap, that's what we're looking at. Your salary cap went from 70 mil when those were around or so, and I believe we're going to be north of 100 here eventually. That's going to be the ask. They'll probably come in even higher of that. Like, if he puts 40 in the net, guys, he's going to ask for $14 million. So, I mean, good on him. You got to back it up. But with him playing with Robert Thomas next season, if they keep Holloway with him, I don't think it's outside the realm at all that he scores 35, 40 goals. I really don't. I think it's reality, and I think that contract for Snuggerud is the one to watch for the Blues, because the deal they got for Holloway, for me, was really reasonable. They should be happy about that one.
On the Blues transaction side of things, Mike, I believe a lot of Blues fans are hoping that the Blues are involved with Carolina on potentially trading for Alexander Nikishin. I am curious just your thoughts on him as a player, and if the Blues should be aggressive enough to try and bring that young defenseman in.
If they can get him, I still think it's the right play to do it, because I'm still not hot on the Blues defense right now. And if you're including Logan Mailloux in the mix, he did a much better job in the second half there, and that's a 23-year-old player. Is he going to be the guy down the road that's going to make it work for you? He could be. But if you can get somebody like a Nikishin, who's already shown it, who's won a cup, who still has a lot of tread left on the tires, I mean, I'd make that deal. And I'm not suggesting that those are a one-for-one. I'm suggesting how you make room in this lineup, because I'm not convinced that Lindstein is going to be on the opening day roster for the Blues on the ice. I'm not convinced of that. So if you're trying to upgrade, you still have some spots. I love Tucker. I think he plays a role for the team. He's good as a 5'6", but I think the top four for the Blues could still use some help. You know, Cam Fowler wasn't as great last year as we expected. So if somebody like Nikishin is available and you can make an aggressive play to get that player, I'm still all for it, because you win with defense. You win with those big, strong players on the back end. We've seen it time and time again. You need centers, but you really need defense as well.
Do you think Lindstein plus a first is kind of what the asking price would be there?
I would expect there to be at least a first you're asking and a prospect. I think they're going to want for sure players on the ice for Carolina, because they're not looking to subtract from a team that just obviously had a great showing in winning the Stanley Cup. I would suspect if you had a first involved, the Blues are still going to want to pick back the other direction. So it's probably a 5-piece deal where if Carolina were to get, let's say we're just going to say Lindstein, but let's say Lindstein in a first, the Blues are probably going to end up getting Nikishin, and maybe, you get a 6th round back, and then Carolina gets one more depth forward. I think it would play that way. You'd still want to swap picks in some capacity and not lose your pick, because, if you can at least get a 5th, 6th, 7th rounder back in the deal, that looks pretty good.
Mike, tell us a little bit about what you guys have going on this week over at Macadoodles.
Man, I'm just going to read you the sheet here. I got some really good stuff. I got 2 new Penelope Project X that just showed up. Armagnac Cognac finish. I got Penelope Riviera that's going to be going out today. Willie's Remedy, guys. I'm telling you, this THC drink is going crazy with people. It's used as a remedy. People like it, that they can go to sleep. They wake up with no hangover. It's crazy how much of this stuff is moving. So old Willie Nelson must know what he's doing as a seasoned veteran of the THC game, I suppose. But yeah, we got those going out. We've got our brand new barrel pick that's still here. And in wine, this is the big one. We've got wines that are largely between $20 and $100 that are right now buy one, get one for $1. This is almost giving the stuff away. I mean, amazing wines, inventory clearance. They're great wines. We just got to get rid of some of them to make room for more new and cool stuff. So you want some great wine. You want some great whiskey. You want all the RTDs. The Good Boy Golf Pack just came out this week. People have been calling for weeks. We got it stacked high at the front here at Macadoodle. So come see us. We're north of the Page Extension. We're at the corner of Bryan and Feisey Road, right next to Sugar Fire. We got Starbucks on the end cap. We're happy to see everybody later today.
Alex is on his way.
I'm on my way to get that golf one, Mike.
Mike, appreciate you, man.
You got it. Thanks, fellas.
You got it. That's Mike McKenna joining us as he does each and every week here on BK and Ferrario.
I'd do that deal in a heartbeat. Lindstein first, and let's say you throw in Pekarchik.
Sure.
I think Carolina, I just don't know the appetite for Carolina. That's the part that I'm unsure about. But from the Blues perspective, to me, I think you're in a position now where, it would be nice to have a first-round pick. I'm kind of in the point of I'd rather move the picks to get guys that are 23, 24, 25 that help me win now. And let's say you lock him up for 6 years at $8 million. That means until 2031, you have Thomas, Booch, Holloway, Broberg, Nikishin, all locked up for 5 years.
For Snugger.
Those guys and neighbors are all going to be locked up with the expectation of all of them till 2031 under, let's say, 10 million AAV.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you build it. And then you've got cap space to work with. I think people see the Nikishin price and say, well, you can't afford that. And you've got $16 million in cap right now when Torrey Krug goes on LTIR. And McMichael's not going to be breaking the bank with this. So let's say you get him for $5 for the next 3 years. All right, well, now you've got $11 million for this year, and then these all players are locked up. You've got to get Snuggy and Hofer and Neighbors locked up, but you've got $52 million next year in cap space. So you can make this thing work if you bring in Nikishin.
They've got plenty of flexibility. It's about what they want to do with it. Right. That's Alex. He's T-Bone. I'm BK. Coming up next, the Cardinals are entering a fascinating draft cycle for them, and they have more flexibility than just about any team in Major League Baseball. What are they going to do with it? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. MLB Draft is this weekend, Alex. They're doing it a little bit differently. I think it's silly the way they're going about it, just to be totally candid with you. The first 10 picks on Saturday are going to be on NBC/Peacock. So if you're a Cardinals fan and you don't care about Major League Baseball's draft other than what the Cardinals do, just turn it on at 1:30 and do so on MLB Network, because that's where the Cardinals pick will be made.
Is Justin Bieber going to show up on NBC,
God,
though?
I hope not. But the first 10 picks, according to this, will take an hour and a half to get through.
Oh, my God.
That is the schedule. The schedule is from noon to 1:30 on Saturday. They will have the Major League Baseball preview show plus the first 10 picks all on NBC/Peacock, and it's scheduled for an hour and a half over there. Then you get to 11th overall, starting at 1:30 p.m. Central Time. That is on MLB Network. So if you're a Cardinals fan and you only want to see the Cardinals picks, just turn on MLB Network starting at 1:30.
Sucks to be the kids that are taken after the 10th overall pick.
Yeah, you're not on
Who needs
network
that?
TV.
Like, honestly, though, who needs that?
What do you mean?
Like, who needs an hour and a half of breakdown with a pre-show? So really 2 hours of
It's silly.
breakdown of the top 10 picks where most of people haven't even heard of these kids.
My question is, why did Peacock just not buy the whole first round?
I don't know.
Only one-
guessing
it was cheaper.
Their numbers probably show there's a huge drop-off after the top 10.
And I'm sure
I
that's
don't
true.
know.
But the other thing I would say, if you're Major League Baseball, why would you let Peacock just have the...
I don't know.
Yeah, if you're Major League
It's
Baseball,
silly.
take it. Do the whole thing.
But anyways, so yeah, that's the way they're doing
Come on,
it.
Rob.
Picks 1 to 10 are on Peacock/NBC. Picks 11 to 40 are on MLB Network. And then after that, it's all on MLB.com or MLB TV. So if you're a Cardinals fan, that's where you can go to find it. But anyways, on the Cardinals side of things for the draft, they have picks 13, 32, 50, 68, 72, and 86 in the top 100 selections. They're going to be busy in the top 100. And this is part of the trade that they made in the offseason where they moved on from Brendan Donovan. And a big part of that deal was multiple comp picks coming in return. And what that allows for them, baseball is unique in this regard. The draft picks are not slotted the way that they typically are in the NFL, NBA, NHL. Those guys are basically, hey, if you're pick 11, this is what you're going to make. Now, you can kind of do some different things with the structure of the deal if you're in the NFL, but other than that, like, this is what you get. And it's the same way for everybody, depending on where you're selected.
Yeah, hockey, it's just you get paid. That's what you all get paid $1 million.
In Major League Baseball, yes, there is a slot, but you can go over or under that slot. And it's really just about, hey, your team has this amount of money to use for the entire draft, and you get to choose how you spend that. If that means you want to spend $1 million on your first round pick and $3 million on your second round pick, you can technically go about it that way if you're the Cardinals. And the reason that you would do something like that is because there's potentially a high school player that is signed with a college team who has a big NIL deal that other teams are scared of. They don't think they can sign him. He's just going to go to college. And because the Cardinals have so much bonus money, $16 million in total this year, they could be one of those teams that incentivizes that high school player to come play for them this year. So you could get a kid that maybe is like a top 15 talent in the draft that other teams have closer to like 50 overall because of signability issues, that maybe for the Cardinals, he's not a signability concern. They can get him to come play for the Cardinals next year, and that allows them to get that player further in the draft while also getting that first round level talent. So this is going to be a fascinating draft, Alex, and I'm very curious to see how they flex, pardon the bad pun, how they flex some of that flexibility muscle they've created.
Yeah, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first one that Heim is
truly in charge of, yes.
running with
He had
his
influence
perspective
last year, but this is his first overall draft.
And that's the part that I think most fascinates me, because throughout the years of the Mo era and the drafts, it was never upside. It was always the safety blanket of, we know what this guy does.
I will say they got away from that a little bit under Randy Flores.
Towards the end of it.
Gorman was an upside pick.
Yeah.
Walker was an upside pick. It was the pitching side of things where you didn't see much of that. But on the bat side, like, I'll give them credit. They did start to have some more swing for the fences type of selections in recent years.
That was a much better pun than the flexibility. I like that one. But you're right on the pitching one, and I stand corrected, because the pitching was the one where it was like, oh, this guy makes contact. I'll also be fascinated to see what they heavily influence this one by. Like we were just talking during the break of, do they lean more towards position players and bats versus pitching? And if it's heavy position players, I wonder if that's them saying like, okay, we feel like our pipeline's in a really good spot with our pitching. Now let's focus on the position players, because other than a couple of guys, whether it's Baez or Rodriguez or, we've talked about Ty Pete in the past, they've got holes that they don't know if it's fillable. And now it's a matter of, hey, let's focus on this draft of restocking that pipeline so that we feel like we're in a position to really succeed moving forward.
Yeah, and especially on that front, I wonder what they decide to do in terms of, is there a college bat that they really like or more of the prep bat? And the reason I say that is, depending on the talent, and that's a key caveat, especially 13 because 7's different. But look at how quickly a college bat and J.J. Weatherholt got to the big leagues, right? It's not rare anymore at this point to see someone get drafted and 2 years later be up at the big leagues. And the reason I bring that up is maybe he's probably a shortstop. Don't freak out. But
oh, come on.
Maybe there's a chance they draft a shortstop that they really like in this draft and they view him as their next third baseman. And so maybe that's what you see along this draft, and that's what I'm fascinated to see. And because they have so much money, are they willing to take bigger upswings on these prep bats or prep pitchers, honestly? I think there's a big left-hander, if I'm not mistaken, that's a high school arm. Talk about worried because I know about Matthew Liberatore. Yep. But I wonder if they start to explore that because they're going to be willing to take more swings, like BK was saying, to where, hey, you can go ahead and take this kid. You've got a little bit more slot money than some teams. Maybe you're willing to take that on your first 2 picks. Go with high school arm or a high school bat, kind of overpay in that slot value, or in the second round overpay in that slot value, and see if you can convince them to come to you. We see teams do that, and that's where we see some of the best steals come from in Major League Baseball drafts.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they go about this. Do they have? They've been a team that traditionally has shied away from prep pitchers. Could you see a prep pitcher this year? Is that something that they would consider? I don't think you'll see that in the first round, just to be very clear. They never take them in the first round. But
who was the last prep pitcher that they did take? Would have been high up. Because like I said, Libby,
Jack,
but Libby was a trade that they got.
Jack would have been a prep pitcher when he was selected by them.
Was he?
Wasn't Hudson?
I think. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know on Dakota.
I thought he was, because they took him that 33rd overall pick because he was right after Carlson. I just don't remember if he was a prep pitcher or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jack was, but beyond that, I'd have to go back through to figure out who they had that was in
Dakota wasn't. He was at Mississippi State.
Yeah, well, Jack was, though, right?
I'm looking up Jack now, but Dakota was not. Flaherty... he was taken.
Yeah, Jack was out of Harvard Westlake. Jake Woodford was a high school pitcher as well. That did not go quite as well.
What about Luke Weaver?
Luke Weaver was a FSU pitcher.
See, I thought he went to college.
Yeah, they've shied away from.
I remember Zach Thompson was a college kid.
High school pitchers, and they have traditionally gone with college guys that are close to the major leagues. And when they go about it that way, you have a capped upside a lot of the time, but a high floor. So you get what you get when you go about it that way. I'll be curious to see if that changes. Again, I don't think it will in the first round, but like what happens at 32? Could they go out there and get a prep arm there? Could they get a prep arm at 50 that most teams are afraid as a signability concern? And because they went college bat maybe at 13 and college arm at 32, can they get a prep arm at 50? It's going to be a fascinating weekend for them. Major League Baseball, more so than really just about any other sport, has so little information that trickles out beyond the top 10 that it's hard to project anything about what they're going to do. It's more of a react to what has happened than a project what they're going to do.
And maybe it's just heat of the moment, but it feels like because sounds like there's a decent drop off once you get past like 10, 12. They're on the outside looking in, and then it just becomes a wild card as to what happens, right? To your point of, like, some years you can go into the draft knowing, okay, there's some really good pieces like 1 through 20, and it feels a little bit better about what you're taking. That's what makes this so much interesting for the Cardinals, is I'm sure they've got about 10 different avenues that they're at least exploring as to what they could do at 13 and what that means for 32 and then what that means for 50.
I just can't wait on Monday when you and me are back after they take 5 shortstops in their first 7 picks, and everyone was like, this means Mason Wynn's going to be traded.
Shortstop. I saw Kiley McDaniel had him taking another catcher.
They can't keep taking these shortstops.
Now, that would be hilarious. That would be genuinely funny.
That one I'd be a little more frustrated over.
So I do think it's worth noting. Like, I'm looking right now at thecardinalnation.com. I think they do an awesome job breaking down the Cardinals prospects. out of their top 15 prospects, the only position players the Cardinals currently have in that range, Rainiel Rodriguez, catcher, Joshua Baez, outfielder, those guys are right on the cusp of big league opportunities. Jimmy Crooks, who's already here, catcher. Leo Bernal, catcher.
Oh, God.
And then Ty Pete, outfielder. So the only guy that's further away in your top 15 in the system right now that is a position player is Ty Pete, according to guys that are actually in the know with the Cardinal system. I do think going heavy on bats, especially guys that do have a little bit more time to marinate in the system, makes a lot of sense, because you look at the core right now, a lot of these guys are going to be here for the next couple of seasons at a minimum. So you don't need immediate replacements in your system. You need guys that have upside that can come in 3 or 4 years to replace some of these current bats.
Focus heavily on the holes that just are in your system, which is third base, the outfield position, and I guess maybe
and
first
pitching in general.
Yeah. Well, and I think to your point on what you said about if they go heavy position player, it might tell you about what they think on their pitching. They've got pitching that's close too, right? I mean, it feels further away, but in 2 years, I think the hope would be Doyle's up here, right? And that might even be, it might be more of a year and a half that we're talking about.
Talking 5 or 6 pitchers in about 2 years.
Same with Senja, same with potentially Quinn
Motts,
Matthews, we were just talking about. Motts,
TK
Franklin,
Roby,
maybe the other
if
one.
he's healthy next year. TK Roby next year could be up at the big league level if he's healthy and ready to go.
The nice part about some of these names, when I would say coming into the season where I said I felt better about their depth, that was because the healthy arms that were closer were fine. Now you're starting to get to that point where some of those higher upside arms are getting a little bit closer. When we talk about Doyle, we're not talking about a guy that's coming up here and hopefully not going to be a number 5 starter, right? The hope is this guy's a number 1 or a number 2 for you. Same with a Senja and a Franklin.
He's Mizorowski, where you bring him up and it's here we go. We've got the best pitcher in our system.
the way you think.
Well, they might have already found him, right?
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about something that's changing in Major League Baseball right now, and I'm talking big picture. We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell the Brewers last night 8-4. They dropped 4 out of 5 to Milwaukee. Tonight, their final set before the All-Star break as they host the Atlanta Braves for 3 games. 7:15 first pitch. Chris Sale will be on the mound for Atlanta. Kyle Leahy will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
That's Alex. He's T-Bone. I'm BK. I just saw this list over on Twitter, Alex.
Right. Are you going to put a poll out about it?
The top pitchers in Major League Baseball, active pitchers and wins in their career.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say this was Wranglers. I was like, is this like a police act list?
No,
this is always a little out there.
I was like, where are you going with this?
How many of the top 10 do you think you guys could name?
Active win leaders?
Active wins leaders.
Active wins leaders,
Okay.
because Justin Verlander is the active wins leader. He announced yesterday this is going to be his final year of his Major League career. He has 266 career wins. So, of course, the thought pieces that came out yesterday were, hey, what's going to happen to the 300-win club? Like, is that now basically extinct? Because Verlander was the guy most likely to get there among active pitchers, and now he's not going to get there because he's retiring.
I got a couple guesses.
I have a couple guesses as well.
Max Scherzer.
He's number 2 right now with 222.
Aaron Nola was one for me.
He is on this list. I'm impressed that you got him. He's number 12.
Okay, not top 10.
I didn't know that he'd be up there.
So Kevin Gossman is another one that came to mind.
Oh, that's a
Good call.
guess.
That is number 7.
Nice.
Robbie Ray, would he be on there?
He wasn't very good early in his career either.
He is number 20, though.
Okay.
Yeah. Man.
Corbin Burns.
He is
still with injuries.
not on this
list. Okay.
Chris Sale, he was one that I thought of.
That's a good
Ding,
one,
ding,
T-Bone.
he's
He
number
pitches
4.
tonight, by the way.
Anybody over?
DeGrom? Would DeGrom be up there? He didn't go deep, though. That's why I don't know.
Anybody at the Yankees?
Are you
Max
using
Fried.
DeGrom as an answer?
Max Fried was
Yeah,
a guess,
DeGrom
too.
should be on there.
Yeah,
16.
I'll guess DeGrom as well.
Yeah.
Fried is tied with Robbie Ray at 20.
Holy crap, he's that low?
Okay, so how many have we gotten so far?
So you so far have Verlander at 1, Scherzer at 2, Sale at 4, Gossman at 7.
So we need 5.
Severino?
Nope.
He wouldn't be that high.
I will tell you this. 1, 2, 3 of these guys have pitched for the Cardinals.
Miles
Gray.
Michaelis?
Sonny Gray is one of them. That's at 5.
Michaelis did have a ton of wins in
Michaelis.
like 2 years. I don't think he'd be up there.
Pitched for the Cardinals.
It's not Fetty.
No. God, no. Lester's out, right?
Yeah, he's out of baseball. It's not Flaherty, right?
Nope.
Okay, I didn't think so. But man, who else would have pitched for the Cardinals that's active? Gotta look at the list.
I know.
Oh, Waka.
Yep. Waka. How about this? Michael Waka tied with Kevin Gossman, 7th most wins among active pitchers in Major League
Had a
Baseball.
hell of a career after he left the
That's
Cardinals.
amazing, dude.
That's
He missed
impressive.
like multiple seasons of his career and was a college pitcher when he got here.
What about
That's crazy?
what about Zach Wheeler?
Wheeler is number 6.
That's a good one. I forgot about him.
God.
Were
there any
You're
more
missing
Cardinals?
3, 9, and 10. There is
one more Cardinal?
One more Cardinal on this
3,
list.
9, and 10.
9 is.
Are they counting?
That's not fair. 9 is unfair. It's you, Darvish.
Okay, I was just about to say him. Are they counting him? Because he's
technically in the sport, but he's not pitching. So that's silly.
Shohei wouldn't be on here, right?
No.
No, I say he missed too much time.
I'm surprised you haven't gotten
Cease?
3.
I don't think he'd be
No,
up there.
Cease isn't on here. It's got to be older. I'm trying to think of
I'm trying to think who the other former Cardinal is we're missing.
I'll give you one more guess, and then we'll.
Garrett Cole.
Yes,
Oh,
that's at
a good
3.
one. I forgot about him.
Just like going through the older
right.
pitchers that I can
You
remember.
got one more. This guy
and this
pitched
is the
for
Cardinals.
the Cardinals.
Can you give me the decade that he pitched for the Cardinals?
Pretty recently.
Okay.
Within the last 5 years.
Okay.
Brief.
Quintana?
Quintana was the answer. He's at number 10.
Look at us.
in
I
Major
looked
League
at the
Baseball.
Rockies because I have the standings up. I was like, Rockies, no.
I was just going through
I
old
forgot he
pictures
was
in my
there.
head, which is weird to say because
Among
isn't Garrett Cole like
active
33?
pitchers,
Yeah.
The only guys under the age of 35 with more than 100 career wins are Michael Waka. He is the leader among those pitchers at 116. Aaron Nola with 112. Jose Barrios at 108. And
Forgot about him.
Eduardo Rodriguez at 101. Those are the only current active pitchers under the age of 35 with at least 100 career wins. None of them have more than 120. Damn. What the hell are they going to do with Major League Baseball when it comes to how do you discern who the legitimate Hall of Famers are in the future? Because you're not. This is what you used to use as your resume builder.
ERA
this
and
can't
WAR.
be the thing anymore.
ERA and WAR is what's going to get them in.
It's going to be right.
Well, I mean, like, how will WAR adjust to all this? Because even now, like, guys who do pitch well aren't like some of those guys, like Verlander, for example. I think he had like 5 or 6 win seasons, and some of these guys that put together good years, I think, end up at like 3 or 4. Like, it's even less than what it was then because the innings are where the value's at in WAR.
Yeah.
My answer to that, and like, I don't know how. I think you almost have to throw out like the numbers, right? Like, because you can't look at wins. Anyways, that was a flaw to begin with. We don't have to get on that soapbox. I don't know how well you can really look at ERA. I mean, I guess you could look at that. The one for me, it would just be, did this guy finish like top 5 in awards in his prime, right? Like, I remember.
How much did you perform, or how many opportunities did you get to be in the playoffs?
Yeah, and I think back on it and I go, okay, like Jacob deGrom, like you look at his resume and he's not going to get close to 300 wins, for example. But I remember him being a dominant arm, and then you just look at where he would finish in Cy Young, and you go, yeah, that guy screams Hall of Famer for this era of Major League Baseball.
That's crazy because to me, I don't feel like that screams Hall of Fame when you're not available most of your career.
So top active guys in Baseball Reference has a stat called JAWS, which looks at basically like how do you compare to other major league pitchers when it comes to your Hall of Fame resume. Top active pitchers in that specific statistic are Justin Verlander. No surprise there. He is roughly where an average Hall of Famer would be among starting pitchers.
I don't think there's any qualms with that guy being Hall of Famer.
Beyond him, Scherzer is below that criteria, but there's a lot of guys below him, like John Schmaltz was behind him. He's in the Hall of Fame, for example. Scherzer's going to get in. There's no doubt about that.
I think those first two are in no matter what.
And then after that, like Felix Hernandez is below there. Chris Sale is up there. And there are only like 3, 4, or 5 different pitchers that are below him in this metric that have made it to the Hall. Like, do you guys think Chris Sale is a Hall of Famer?
I think so.
Like, my gut tells me yes. I got to pull up his Baseball
Season
Reference real quick.
awards. He won a World Series.
He's won 1 Cy Young. He's had like 6 or 7 top 5 Cy Young finishes.
Did he win a World Series? Am I misremembering that?
He did with Boston in 2018.
And I wouldn't even really judge him on a World Series or not.
No, I think you have to judge it with different criteria.
Like, I think he's in because he had hold on, this is a 7-year stretch being top 5 in Cy Young with 1 year being 6th. Like, I think that's what you have to go by now. And I think that is probably a Hall of Famer. And he got the Cy Young as well later on in his career.
How many other current starters are future Hall of Famers?
So my gut tells me Sale. Because I think these are going to be the first wave of these test cases.
Verlander, Scherzer, Sale.
I'm going a little bit younger than Verlander, but I do because I think he's going to be in.
I'm just going off that list.
The test case that I'm going to bring up here, if these guys don't get in, I don't know how you put another starting pitcher in the Hall of Fame. And that would be Chris Sale.
Yep.
Jacob deGrom, Garrett Cole.
What about Wheeler?
For me.
Wheeler, too. Yeah, I didn't think of him, but he's up there in that age group as well. Those would be the 4 guys, and there's maybe somebody else I'm missing, but those were the first 3 that I said were what came to mind. I think that's the first wave that kind of has this test. And if you don't put them in, I don't know how you put people behind them in. Because it's not like someone that in like 10 years, maybe I'm wrong, but like it's not like, actually I'll just go modern. It's not like Quinn Matthews is going to come up and suddenly make 300 wins popular again.
Yeah.
You know, so if you don't put those guys in, I don't know how you put another starting pitcher in behind them.
I'm just looking at, so over the last decade, guys with the most wins above replacement among starting pitchers. I'll just ask you guys, we'll go through the top 10 and you tell me how many of these guys you think are Hall of Famers. Jacob deGrom.
I think so.
I wouldn't say he is.
I would. I think he's just so dominant that I would put him in. Max Scherzer.
Yes.
Zach Wheeler.
Yes.
I think so.
Chris Sale.
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Aaron Nola.
Him, no, I don't think so.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
I think so. He
Kevin
won a Cy Young,
Gausman.
I believe. Gausman, no, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't either.
I got to look up Gausman.
Justin Verlander, yes. Clayton Kershaw, yes.
Yeah.
Sonny Gray, no.
Yeah, I don't
Luis
think so.
Castillo,
No.
No.
Blake Snell.
No.
He'll be interesting, especially because he's got time. He's won 2 Cy Youngs, 3 Cy Youngs. Right
He's
now
such
I
a
say
modern
no.
pitcher.
I know.
If you say yes, there's going to be so much pushback.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times in his career he's thrown more than 130 innings?
Not a lot.
Less than 5.
Probably like 2, and it's the years he won Cy Young, right?
It's 2.
Yeah. I would say no with him.
I don't think you can put him into the Hall of
I
Fame.
think consistency matters for the Hall of Fame if you're a starting pitcher.
Other than that, like Max Fried, Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish, Charlie Morton is top 15 on this list. I mean,
that dude's 100. So
we've got 7 players, and I think 3 or 4 of them. This is an era in which they don't even really belong, and we're talking about Justin Verlander, Clayton Kershaw, and you could argue like Zach Wheeler is not even necessarily of this era.
Do you
either.
think Fried would get in?
No.
Somebody brought up Strasburg. I know he's not pitching anymore, but Steven Strasburg.
No, too short.
Yeah, I think his was too short. I think
If you're not putting Jacob deGrom in, you sure as hell can't put Strasburg in.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know about Fried because he didn't have. I think where it gets stuff like I mentioned, Sale. He had that like 8-year run as being top 5. Fried
has like 3 great seasons.
Yeah, and even
not,
if he
they're not
won
good enough.
Yeah, and they're separated too. Like 2 of them were. One's in 2020, so it doesn't count, basically. And then the other's 2022, and then you got to go 3 years before 2025.
Yeah,
so, yeah, he's probably not in either.
It's such a different game. It's almost like the NFL is going to have this with wide receivers and quarterbacks, where every quarterback in the league for about 15 years was throwing for 4,000 yards. And every wide receiver in the league, even average ones, were getting 1,000 yards. So how do you compare that to like Torrey Holt, for example? I don't know, or Isaac Bruce. You can't. It's a totally separate game. And the same thing is true in the inverse when it comes to running backs. Like the modern day starting pitcher is basically equivalent to running backs in the NFL from 2011 to 2023. Well, even the best ones were getting like 1,200 yards across the league because it was just so different. Those guys were judged as much for what they could do in the passing game as they were in the running game. And that's Major League Baseball starters now, where it used to be if you're not getting 7 innings from your starter, that guy is not a number 1, much less a future Hall of Famer. And nowadays, boy, if you can go 7, you're not just a Hall of Famer. You're an inner circle, like all-time great. And that's where Zach Wheeler becomes such an outlier in the modern game. I don't know how you do it. It's going to be fascinating to see the way that the voters are able to differentiate between who is and who is not a Hall of Famer. And I'm curious to see what it means for Waino.
Yeah, I mean,
because like he'll be judged comparatively speaking to some of these guys that we're talking about here. He's going to compare pretty damn well to a lot of the guys that come after him.
Just going through that list beyond the Verlander and Scherzers, it's like I feel like that guy's a Hall of Famer because you just look at the wins and the innings that he pitched for the team. I just, when you say the Hall of Fame,
he might get in because there are so few starters in the next decade or so.
He's the end of the generation.
It.
But I find it funny when you say we'll see how the Hall of Famers vote because they always, make the right decisions, put the guys that deserve to be in Hall of Fame, right?
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. BT joining us coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Junk Drawer next here on 101 ESPN. You guys seen anything on this cyclosporosis? Sporasis? I don't know how to exactly pronounce it.
Is this another fear thing that you have?
Boy, do I have it. It's a new intestinal illness that's caused by a parasite.
Oh,
They say it's on a bunch of different fruits at the grocery store. Apparently it's on some vegetables as well, including lettuce.
This might be Taco Bell. Are you going to bring up Taco Bell here?
No.
I saw that at some Taco Bell locations, they were taking lettuce off of tacos,
it's because of this.
and it was because of that.
So
That's
what are the symptoms?
Dude, a month-long spell with explosive diarrhea.
Oh, dude, that's irritable bowel syndrome. I've lived that for the last 10 years.
This is apparently really bad. Like, people are losing 15-plus pounds.
You haven't had my IBS.
Because they can't keep food down. Like, you immediately have to go to the restroom. And, like, as somebody that's dealt with food poisoning a couple of times, it's brutal when you get that for like 48 hours. Apparently, this is lasting more than a month for people.
Well, but here's my question, and I'm not trying to be like rude or anything, but who doesn't wash the stuff that they bring home?
They don't know what's happening or if you can even wash it.
Oh,
off.
really?
Like, this parasite, it might be something that
just is stuck into it.
It's
T-Bone was right all along. Don't eat fruits and vegetables.
I'm avoiding my fruits and veggies,
Because I mean,
boys.
like anything I bring home that's not in a package immediately goes into like a bowl that we do with the vinegar and the baking soda that you let it mix and you know, like
it's a good way to go about it,
up or whatever.
And that washes some of the pesticides and all that stuff off. It's a good way to go about it. But apparently they don't know exactly what's going on or why this is happening, where it's coming from, if you can wash it off or not. But people are getting not just sick, but like devastating illnesses from this, and it's had more than 1,500 cases in Michigan alone.
Oh,
it makes me super nervous. Like, if Luca or one of your girls got this, Alex, you're just screwed because you can't send them to daycare for a month.
Yeah.
Like, I would just have to stay home for a month. And how the hell are you supposed to deal with that if you're a parent of a kid that gets this kind of a thing, man? You can't stay home for a month.
No idea.
I don't think one-on-one ESPN is going to be thrilled if I'm like, hey, guys, like,
my kid can't stop pooping.
I can't send him to daycare. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can't do the show from home because the kid is just on the potty all day long.
I'd be more worried about the parents that get it, not so much the kids, because how are you going to be able to take care of your kids when you can't get out of the bathroom?
Got a problem with both, right?
Yeah.
Like there is no evidence, at least thus far. We'll see.
This is why people didn't live long back in the early 1900s.
Person to person, it seems like this is something that spreads from the food or the water to you.
It makes sense that you can't spread it person to person unless you're,
Somebody said his concern is daycare, not the health of his child. Obviously, I'm concerned about the health of my child. Obviously.
Just stop it.
Also, yes, I am concerned about the fact that I would have to figure out what to do with work and what to do with daycare over the course of a month. I think that is a reasonable thing to be concerned about. Both of those things are happening simultaneously.
Said, is Alex
Relax,
the most paranoid
YouTube.
person ever? No, that was BK that's paranoid. I live with explosive diarrhea all the time, so just, have a bowl of yogurt in the morning. I'm instantly in there. It's IBS, ladies and gentlemen.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. T-Bone, do we have BT coming up next or no?
As of now, I'd say we plan on no BT right now.
No problem. Coming up next, is there more incentive now for the Blues to get the Jimmy Snuggerud deal done, given what we've seen from RFA status this offseason? We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Classic Air Care, the company that has been making people comfortable since 1926. Classic Air Care, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electricity. A company that has 100 vans on the road. You've probably seen them driving down the highway in that orange van with the penguin on the side. But what you're not seeing is the quality of service that van is providing. They've got over 9,000 five-star reviews and have won the STL Headliner's Best Heating and Cooling Company for 3 straight years. And for me personally, I've had them working on my home HVAC system for the last 10 years. Since 2016, when my wife and I have owned a home, they come out twice a year, check our HVAC system, clean it, fine-tune it, make sure everything's good to go. It's a part of the maintenance agreement we're a part of. But when issues pop up, they come out right away, and I have that problem solved. So maybe you're looking into just maintaining your older unit, or maybe you're looking for a brand new one. Classic Air Care is the company that can take care of you and your family. Call them today or schedule online. Just do me a favor. Tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. It's Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Alex, contracts in the NHL are exploding. The biggest piece of evidence in this is the Leo Carlsson $18 million annual value that he just got from the Anaheim Ducks after getting offer sheeted by the Philadelphia Flyers. The Blues don't have to worry about that this offseason. They don't have RFAs that are going to get offer sheeted from other teams. Next offseason, that's a bit different, where you've got Jake Neighbors coming up, you've got Jimmy Snuggerud up for RFA status, Joel Hofer's up for RFA status, Logan Mailloux is an RFA as well. Are those guys getting offer sheeted? I'd be a little surprised, but you do have to worry about what the number's going to be for any of them individually, especially a guy like Jimmy Snuggerud, who I think going into the season, all of our expectation is he'll be on that top line alongside Robert Thomas. And the goal should be 30-plus goals for him in the upcoming year. If he does so, man, he's going to get a huge payday. My expectation would be he immediately becomes the highest paid player on the St. Louis Blues if he reaches all of the heights that we're hoping for. Does that make you more incentivized to get a deal done now instead of waiting until the end of next year? Or how are you viewing this with Snuggy, Alex?
I'm not as incentivized to get this thing done now because the way I view it is I don't think anybody's going to go into a Jimmy Snuggerud and throw $18 million at him because centers are just more valued than wingers, specifically goal scorers. So it's not like I feel like I have to get this deal done now because even if somebody comes in and, let's say, tries to get Snuggerud at $12 million, I think the Blues would probably look at that and say, well, that's probably where things are going. We'd value him at $12 million. But I also look at this as I think the Blues are going to want this thing to play itself out with Jimmy Snuggerud. They just want to see what it looks like for a full 82. I mean, there's no question that last year was underperforming for Robert Thomas, but it was also underwhelming for Snuggerud early on. It wasn't until after he had that wrist surgery that Snuggerud even said, like, I started to find my groove. And, like, a perfect comp for me is I look at what Cole Caulfield did with Montreal. Like, if you look at it, he had his 3-year entry-level contract, which Snuggerud's is 2, so you're going 1 year fewer, but In the third year, that was a shortened season for Cole Caulfield. He scored 26 goals, which I have to imagine would be on pace for like 40 goals in a normal season, 26 and 46 games. But then he signed the contract that offseason at $7.8 million when he was 22. Now, again, the cap hadn't risen to where it is right now, still a flat cap, but that was probably... Right. That was lesser than what people would have expected for a guy that they saw as a big-time goal scorer. So I'm saying all this to say I think the Blues are going to want to see, hey, if you're a 40-goal scorer and you want $12 million, we'll give you $12 million. But let's say this is the sophomore slump season for Snuggerud, and it doesn't live up to it, and he's a 60-point producer, and he scores 25 goals. A lot of people may be like, oh, that's not what we expected from Snuggerud. I think the Blues may be like, hey, we know he's going to get there. Let's lock him up and get him for lesser than the value might be from what he would be if he scores 40 plus.
Yeah, I think they're going to try and get it done because I think they would view this as, one, we believe in the player, but two, we believe in the player and also don't want to let him get to that max value if he scores 40 goals.
100%. Let's
see if we can get the value on that deal. Now, it may be just, $2 million, $4 million, which sounds like pennies. But man, anytime you can have that efficiency to where you end up having surplus value on any contract, that's a win for a front office because that frees up $4 million or $2 million, whatever the difference would be if he scores 40 goals for the next offseason and the offseason after that and so on and so forth. But I say all that to say this. If I'm Snuggerud's camp, I'm telling him we're not doing a contract extension because I think it's more in Snuggerud's favor to say I want to play it out because I want to bet on myself and see if I can go score 40 goals. So then I get to the spot where I can leverage I want the $14 million because did you just see what I did with Robert Thomas?
The other thing about this is I'll be curious to see who the other players are that could potentially factor into the rise in the contract status. What's Alex DeBrincat going to get next offseason? He's coming off of a 40-goal season. He's had consistent 30-plus goal seasons throughout his entire career. He's going to be 29 years old, I believe it is, going into the upcoming season. Is he going to get a contract extension with Detroit? Is somebody else going to pay him? And if so, you're potentially going to be paying Snuggerud after DeBrincat gets paid. So if DeBrincat gets 14 on the open market, because there'll be a UFA next offseason, is that basically the starting point for negotiations now with Snuggy? If you're going long-term with him, because he's younger, he potentially has similar upside to DeBrincat. I think he might be a better all-around player than DeBrincat is. So if I'm Jimmy Snuggerud's agent, is that the ask now? And if so, doesn't it behoove you to get that done early to avoid that contract hitting as a comparable for Jimmy Snuggerud? This is what we see in the NFL. It's always what's the next guy going to get? And so if you're somebody that's a quarterback, just to use that as the example because it most often happens that way, if you're a quarterback and you're about to hit the market 2 years from now, a lot of these guys just wait and wait and wait and wait until the last possible minute to sign their contracts because they want other guys to reset the market so then they can be the one that goes over the top on them. And I think that might be what's happening now in the NHL, where you see guys just kind of wait and wait and wait to see what their comparables are going to get on the market to reset this thing in a significant way. And Snuggerud, somebody that has the potential to do that next year.
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely does. And you're right, T-Bone. His side, after seeing what just this offseason is and where the things are going, you're not signing a contract now. You can approach me all you want. I don't think there's any way you do a contract because it's no, I had one full season. I feel like I can prove myself. I'm playing with Robert Thomas and Dylan Holloway.
What if they said 10 mil?
I think they'd say no.
Really?
Yeah. I think they would bet on the player in the sense of we feel like 10 might be the floor for Jimmy Snuggerud next year.
Yeah.
And they view it as, look, we think we can. And I don't even think they're thinking offer sheet. They're just looking at it as
100%
we believe Jimmy Snuggerud can score 40 goals, and he's playing with Thomas and Holloway. Let's let the season play itself out because if not only you're a 40-goal scorer, but let's say you're an 80 or 90-point producer. Now you're not just viewed as a winger who can score goals. You're viewed as a two-way player. And defensively, what are you? Because then you're even more valuable. So, the scenarios continue to rise for Snuggerud's camp of look, let's let you play your season, and if things go well, you're going to make the money that you want. Even if they don't go well, we feel like we could get you to $8 million, and then you go short-term and build it up even more.
I wouldn't do it either because, I mentioned, You've got DeBrincat, who's coming up. You've also got Jason Robertson, who could be viewed as some level of a comparable. He's going to be 27 years old next year. What's he going to get if he hits the open market? If he does do a 1-year arbitration deal and then truly hits unrestricted free agency, and we saw this offseason, Seattle was willing to give him $15 a year. Does that now go up? Is he now worth 16 or 17 if he were to hit the true open market in free agency?
Go ahead.
And I was going to say the other one that is not so much like Robertson. I could see where you convince he would reset it, right? That one makes sense to me. It's more of like what you said yesterday with like Leo Carlson. It's the guy that nobody expects to reset the market. It's the Christian Kirk situation because Carlson just did it on the center side of things. And this is one of the reasons I'm with you on the offer sheet, Alex, where I don't see that as being a fear. One, it's Blues will keep enough cap space to make it happen. But two, is anybody really going to come in and blow the player's socks off that's a winger that scores goals? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe they would. But that's more of the fears. It's that somebody that's more in that middle tier that says, surprise, the market's been reset here at $16 million for a winger, and then everything changes.
I think the guy people need to be watching is what Cutter Gauthier signs for. I think Gauthier is going to be the guy that signs.
He doesn't have any leverage.
No, he doesn't, but I think what he signs for, because that's a young winger that just scored 40 goals, I think that's the one that if he signs let's say it's $13 million.
I just don't think he's getting that. Because I'm with you. In theory, you could, but like, what's his leverage?
Well, the leverage is I don't show up. And then they say, cool. Yep. I mean,
that's not real leverage in the NHL.
No, it's not. But I mean,
because he can't go anywhere else to play.
Anaheim, though, is in just a spot where they need to sign the guy because
do they?
If you don't have Cutter Gauthier, you're not a playoff team, regardless of Carlson.
Understood. But he's not going to take the year off of playing hockey.
Yeah, no, he's not. BK was saying when he said, "Do you have to sign him?" What BK was saying is,
I don't have to give him top dollar.
Yeah, I don't have to settle for his terms. That's what BK was.
But he also doesn't have to settle for yours.
He does eventually because he doesn't have unrestricted free agency rights for years.
But he could sign a 1-year deal and play for, let's say they tell him we'll give you $8 million, and then now he's offer sheet eligible next year, and now you have to pay him because arbitration is there.
Absolutely, but that's not this offseason. That's what I'm saying.
I still think that's going to set the market. I think that's what agents are going to be watching to see what happens.
For next year?
Yeah, like what he does this season, like what he signs for in the scenario that happens with Anaheim, and then what that carries over into next offseason. I believe wingers are going to watch that and say like this, because the thing about it is agents.
But next offseason, that's something that doesn't play into necessarily Jimmy Snuggerud's situation.
Well, but I don't think Robertson plays into it either, because Robertson has been in the league for multiple years and has scored 40 goals multiple times.
The market.
It changes the market, but agents don't compare him to those guys because they have a different.
Absolutely will.
I disagree. They don't have the same track record as my guy who's only been there for 2 years. They go for
That's
comps.
what the Blues would argue, and his agent would argue, sure, but you're paying my player for what he's going to do, not just what he's already done.
They go comps off of guys that are in similar situations as their players and say this guy. And like the DeBrincat one, I don't think DeBrincat's in the same landscape as what they're going to be arguing for Jimmy Snuggerud.
I totally disagree.
I agree on Alex on the Gauthier one, that I think that next year is when you start to see that, because then he gets more leverage, and then he can go for it.
That doesn't necessarily impact the Snuggerud negotiations unless they're really, really, really late to signing him, because Cutter Gauthier is probably not going to be signed to any kind of a contract by the time that Snuggerud signs next year.
Or Snuggerud says, I'm not signing until Cutter Gauthier signs.
But then that's going to take us to like August of next year.
But he can do that.
He could do that, though. That's his leverage.
He could.
And that's why I
don't know how likely that is.
I don't either, but if I'm his agent, I'm going to say, this is the guy. If you go out there and score 35 goals for the Blues this year, this is the guy we can comp you to, and what he gets paid, you get paid.
And where we have a fork in the road moment here is I don't think they're going to have to do that, because there are other comparables. For me, I think they will use Jason Robertson and Alex DeBrincat as comparables, because they will say, what they have done is what my player will do for you. And if you want to buy out his free agency years, this is what a player of Jimmy Snuggerud's caliber will get on the open market now. And what he gets is what you see from Jason Robertson. It's what you'll see eventually from Alex DeBrincat. And if those guys are getting about $15 million per year, well, you can go short term with Snuggy and maybe get him for $10 million a year and walk him up to free agency. And then he gets his huge payday the way that those guys are right now. Or if you want to go 8 years with Jimmy Snuggerud, well, now you're going to have to take into account, kind of similar to what we see with Major League Baseball. I think it's getting closer to that now with these negotiations. well, you're going to have to buy out those years where my player would otherwise be getting 15 plus a year. And by that point, it might even be higher than 15 because we're seeing this thing escalate annually as the cap continues to rise. And that's where you end up with his agent negotiating not just against Cutter Gauthier, but against Alex DeBrincat and against Jason Robertson. Is that making sense?
I understand what you're saying. Because if you're going 8 years, I see how they would point to him and try and do that. And that's where I just wonder if I'm the Blues, I do what you're talking about. You go more year to year because it's almost too risky to bet that. Yeah, because I get what you're saying, and you're probably right. They will point to Robertson. I would say what Alex is saying. You're not Robertson yet. This is a different animal right now. You got to go prove that for a couple of years before we're willing to do that. And you're the Blues. Now, the tough part here is making sure you don't have sour grapes in this negotiation as well, to where Snuggy would eventually, when he gets to that, as we know, gets to pre-agency, says, guess what, Blues? Didn't really like those last negotiations. Not re-signing here. And then you're really putting the problem.
You're walking him up to unrestricted free agency now, and now the player has all.
And that's what I'm saying, is that's when you get to the pre-free agency.
And this is the part that I just...
Because the odds of him getting to UFA, in my opinion, is I don't think he'll ever go to the market. We just don't see it in the NHL anymore.
This is the part, too, that we had the argument yesterday, or not the argument, but the back and forth yesterday. Like, It comes down to the player. Like, I also think if Jimmy Snuggerud's a guy that values the Blues and likes being there, like Dylan Holloway's a guy that I think could have probably done what we're talking about right now because, yeah, he was injured and he didn't have the leverage, but he could have just gone year to year and say, well, no, I want a full 82. But instead,
the market hadn't exploded by then, though.
Well, I know, but they saw where the cap was going. They knew where the cap was going before he signed the contract this past offseason or in season, whenever it happened. This argument, which I know is a hard argument to stand on, but for me, I do think the player comes into this as well. If the player values where he is and likes who he plays with and sees the upside, that's where a 5-year deal worth $9 million makes sense for the now, but also makes sense for the future when I'm 27 years old and gets paid again.
If you're only going 5 years, I think you can get it on a lower
I just don't
AAV.
think you're not going to see an 8-year deal because they're dead in September. The only thing you're going to see is 7. I don't see guys signing 7-year deals anymore.
Well, if that's the case, then what we're talking about is kind of moot.
Yeah,
because that basically walks him up to free agency, and then that scenario, like, yeah, you could go lower AAV. It's the long-term deals that are going to get higher AAV if you're going to do that.
Well, how many years did Byram sign for? Was he 6?
I think so.
Like, I don't think players and agents are going to be viewing 7-year deals as a thing anymore.
Interesting.
Like, I believe, unless you're like that second tier of players to where you just want security and I just want to be somewhere for the longevity of my career and I know I'm not going to make the top dollars, I think those top players, they're not signing 7-year deals because they view this as, why would I do that if I can go 4 or 5 years and then still hit the market of an exploding cap at a prime age that people are going to pay me? So, like, I just view the 7-year deal thing, the long-term, like the max we're going to give you, as something that's going to be really disappearing in the National Hockey League.
That's something that's happened in the NBA. We see it with the Stars where they all sign for 2 years. Because that first year, they're under contracts, they're good to go, they're getting maximum value. And by year 2, if they're not happy in their situation, they can force a trade or they can renegotiate the next deal at that point in time. You could just constantly be getting top of the market dollar. So it's a good point, Alex.
I mean, even Carlson was the 5-year deal, and I know it was an offer sheet, but Kaprizov, I think he signed the max, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he was 6 years. Yeah, he was the max because he goes till 2034.
Didn't McDavid just do a 3-year deal?
Yeah. Matthews did a short-term one as well. Even Mitch Marner, who signed with Vegas, I think was only a 5-year deal. So, like, I just think that, especially now that it's dropping from 8 to 7, and then now teams that don't have your rights can only give you 6, I think free agency and really the conversations with RFAs are going to be, look, we'll go 4 or 5, and that's the max because I want to hit free agency at some point to maximize my deal.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up next, T-Bone, do we have Brad Thompson or no?
No BT.
Coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for One's Gotta Go here on BK and Ferrario. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for One's Gotta Go. You give us 4 options. We will tell you which one's gotta go here on BK and Ferrario. Let's start out with this, Alex. One's gotta go. Possible LeBron James destinations in free agency. Cleveland, Miami, Philly, Golden State.
Cleveland. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Cleveland, Miami.
The new one's got to go?
Yeah, no, I always forget this every week. Miami would have to go. I don't want to see that again. I don't need to see that again.
Brian Windhorst on a Sports Center recently said they are gaining steam.
That would make
as
sense.
A possible destination.
What better way to go out than the place where you won your first championship?
And it's Miami.
Yeah.
For me, it's Philly. I have no interest with him in Philly. I'm not a big fan of Embiid. You've got LeBron there, and Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown and him doesn't feel like it would mesh well. Cleveland's a fun story.
That'd be a fun big 3, though. Embiid, LeBron, and Jaylen Brown.
It does nothing for me.
I think so.
Yeah.
I like Embiid. I know people don't.
I like Embiid. I do not like Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, it does nothing for me. And there's no connection to it. Like Cleveland, he's going back home. Golden State is to play with Curry. Now, that's a fun, even if it's just a big 2, is fun. Miami, I get, right? Played there, but also him, Giannis, and Bam. Whew, good luck stopping that team.
The size is ridiculous.
Oh, my gosh.
They're going to need some shooting.
Yeah,
I don't know who's shooting the ball for them because Bam might be the best shooter out of the bunch.
You never need shooting.
But that's, it'll
play under the hoop.
I think I would go with Philly as well as the one that's got to go. I still love the idea of Golden State. It sure seems like that ain't happening anymore, but I'm interested in it. Miami's whatever. Philly, I've got no interest in. Him and Jaylen Brown together, there's no history there. There's no connection to it. I don't think that's a team that can win the title together. So at least with the other ones, I've got better storylines.
Yeah. I'd rather see a new team than do with Miami again.
From the 618, one's got to go. Living on a Prayer. Excuse me, karaoke edition. Living on a Prayer, Don't Stop Believing, or Summer of 69.
Summer of 69.
Yeah, I feel like that's easy. Summer of 69 for me.
Yeah.
Living on a Prayer is a classic.
Don't Stop Believing's
a classic.
Yeah. All of them have to go. Believe it or not, is the karaoke edition you do.
Amen.
I would probably say Don't Stop Believing for karaoke.
What?
It's overdone.
How is it overdone when it's like one of the best
karaoke
songs?
Is mostly overdone.
Go anywhere where that song plays and everybody sings it.
I know, but I'm good. I've seen it.
Oh, you don't like something that a lot of other people like. I think you criticize some people that feel that way.
You can do it. I'm not going to be the one that goes out there to do it.
It's a Black Parade!
I was about to say, come on. You already know the answer.
He'd run up there and he'd take the mic from somebody if they start playing it.
Be like, get out of here.
One's got to go airline edition. Delta, Southwest, American, or Frontier?
I only fly Southwest, so honestly, any of them can go other than Southwest.
See, I've only flown a handful of times in my life, so
I feel like Delta's always the most expensive out of these 4, so I'll go with that one.
All right, I'll go with that too.
One's got to go sports watching edition. Tennis, golf, or soccer?
Tennis.
Same.
It's woof.
Oh, golf for me.
I love
like
golf.
watching a guy hit a little white ball.
And said you want to watch somebody hit a green ball back and forth.
Yeah, but there's like action back and forth. There's kind of strategy involved while you're doing golf. It's like walk up and
strategy involved with golf.
I mean, if you could go to the golf course and be drunk and swing a club, no strategy.
Well, actually, you can't when you're at the golf course and drunk trying to swing a club.
One's got to go.
Goes wrong.
Social media star edition. Drewski, Logan Paul, Mr. Beast, or Sketch?
I know one of those.
Sketch is
I know 3 of them, but I have no idea who Sketch is.
Sketch is like he's a character, but I think I know him most famous for playing like Madden.
Okay.
Played
Literally
the football
know
games.
Logan Paul, and that's it, and I despise him.
You don't know Drewski?
I don't know Drewski.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no.
Big guy. He did the...
Big guy. Oh, now it's clicking.
Was it... God, who was the football player that he screwed up his name? He does nothing for me. I honestly... Mr. Beast out of the 4 is the only one that I find interesting.
About Mr. Beast all the time. I don't know anything about him.
He at least does stuff that I'm like, okay, I respect the talent.
I mean, the guy's got a TV show, so he must be pretty popular.
I don't know if he's somebody that I would... It doesn't appeal to me, but I understand the appeal of it.
All of them have to go.
I would say
all
out of these
me.
4... I guess Drewski would be the one that's got to go for me.
They're all annoying to me, so I pick your poison.
I hate the Paul brothers, but since I don't know Drewski, I would just get rid of him just because at least I know what I'm getting with the Paul brothers.
Yeah.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line.
This is the Unk Show. What are we talking about?
One's got to go cheese edition. Gouda, Swiss, Colby Jack, or string cheese.
Swiss.
Gouda,
I don't think I use Swiss for anything.
Colby,
Swiss is good on a
or
burger.
string cheese.
You can't eat Gouda.
That makes sense.
Too fancy for me.
Gouda's really good, man. Aged Gouda, it's awesome.
Gouda.
Swiss is nasty.
Get that the hell out of here.
I don't need string cheese.
What? I feels like you're
My kids love string cheese.
Drewski announced JSN. That's who it was. Yeah, it was not a good moment.
I can only imagine how he pronounced that one.
is the Air Comfort Service text line for One's Gotta Go. One's Gotta Go College Football Playoff Winter Edition for the upcoming season. SEC, Big 10, ACC, or Big 12. I'll go ACC.
ACC or Big 12 are the two for me, so I'd say ACC.
I'm going to give the tiebreaker to the Big 12. No, actually, you know what? I changed my answer. I'm going ACC. I like the way that the Big 12 conference as a whole kind of stood up to the Sorsby situation. I was docking the Big 12 at first, and then I realized they didn't do anything wrong. It was Texas Tech's fault, so I'll say ACC's got to go.
One's Gotta Go World Cup Edition. Mbappe, Messi, Holland, or Kane?
Ooh, man.
That's a good one. I'll go Kane.
Yeah, it's just thinking Kane.
I love
He's
Kane.
excellent, but man, Mbappe is ridiculous. Yeah. Holland is having a true, like,
I love everything about this dude.
Yeah. I totally understand. He's been really good. This is not a new thing for people that watch soccer, but for people like me that are just coming into this on an international level, for him to have this kind of a breakout in the World Cup
is for that country that's not been known as a power.
Yeah.
Have you seen
it's unbelievable.
Have you
to
seen
witness.
the highlight of putting him next to Alex Ovechkin?
Yeah,
where he just walks around, doesn't do anything, and then he runs up and scores. Yeah. And then they have Ovechkin just standing there waiting for the one-timer. Oh, God, it's perfect.
And Messi is carrying Argentina on his back.
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. They have no business being at this point in
that last game where Messi scored the one to tie. It was like, I'm all in.
Yeah, I think I'd go Kane as well, even though that pains me because I love him. He's one of my favorite players to watch. But if you plucked him from England, like England would take a step back, it wouldn't be as significant as the other three, and he just doesn't have the same charisma as the other three as well.
Who do you think's winning it at this point?
France.
I don't know who's beaten France. They are unbelievable.
Morocco, untouchable.
You know I'm a big Morocco fan. I loved that team. They didn't stand a chance yesterday, and that's telling. Now, I know Mbappe got hurt, if I'm not mistaken. I wasn't able to watch the game, but I think they're going to win it all. I think it's going to be France-Argentina. That would be my guess today.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I would go France and Norway. I think Norway's going to get this thing
I think
done,
Norway's
man.
losing to England.
Do you?
Yeah, I think England's beating them. I've got, by the way, my upset this round, mostly because my dad really needs it for his survival
I'm
pick
guessing
he's
it's
doing.
Belgium because that's the only one you have remaining.
Yeah. I think Belgium's going to be the one that takes down Spain.
Interesting. I do not. I don't think they score today against Spain.
Someone's going to have to score
like
eventually.
Most people haven't scored against Spain.
Someone's going to have to score again eventually. I think this is the time.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Best case scenario for just
factor.
like, if kind of similar to NCAA tournament, upsets are cool in the first round, but eventually we kind of would prefer to see the best and the blue bloods. France, Spain, England, and Argentina is best case scenario for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think it matters really between England and Norway? Both are great stories,
I'd
right?
like Norway to win because I like Holland more.
Yeah, I don't
But
know
England's
if
a
it
great
matters.
story.
Yeah.
I think Norway's the better story, just because they've never really been known as a soccer power. England's been known as remember David Beckham, England. Like, they've had some pretty good players.
Well, I think
They just haven't been able to get
exactly.
to the end
They're like
recently.
They're like the better version of the U.S., where like they get a little bit further and then they go home, and then in England they're like, how is this possible? We have the best soccer league in the world.
I think Norway has probably the best story from the World Cup because of Holland, who's just like taken over social media.
Yeah, Norway would definitely be better for the game.
England recent World Cup finishes. Quarterfinals in 22, fourth place, didn't make it out of the group stage. Round of 16, quarterfinals, round of 16, didn't qualify. Fourth place, quarterfinals.
That does sound like the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, dude. Since they won it in 1966, it has not been the traditional what you would think by England at the FIFA World Cup.
The difference there too, like with them, like 'cause you're right, it does sound a lot like them. They've had like guys that were like true superstars. Like Harry Kane was a superstar in his prime. He's a little bit older now. Rashford was a very good player. I think he's still on the team. Beckham, as I had mentioned, like in those, would have been early 2000s, I guess. Beckham was like known as one of the biggest players on the world. And like you said, they just haven't been able to get over the top.
They've only made it to the semifinals once in the last 8 World Cups.
Which World Cup was that?
2018.
Man, I don't even remember that at all.
2018 FIFA World Cup. That was the one that France won. It was Croatia versus France and Belgium versus England in the champions and then semifinal matchup.
Huh, I don't remember. Well, it wasn't even memorable.
So France won it. I think they might do it again this year.
Matthew on YouTube says, I hate when these guys talk about soccer.
Thanks, Matthew.
I think we're pretty great at it. I think we fixed the game a couple of times this World Cup season.
Yeah, we're learning to pull the goal.
Stop the damn clock.
Hey, man. Yeah, well, they do that at the NCAA. That's smart.
Your clock runner is just lazy, plain and simple. Just stop
and
it.
how about the flopping? Let's take care of it, okay?
Well, good luck with that. Those guys.
That's why you get called grass fairies.
Easy.
That's true.
That doesn't really bother me too much, honestly.
Oh, I hate it.
But
I hate it too.
The clock thing, I think, is just stupid. There's no reason.
The flopping is annoying.
You know, I'm with you on the clock thing. How does a guy
You can turn down the
getting
music.
touchdown on his foot and then rolling around like he got shot, and then only for them to bring out the trainers, and then 5 seconds later he's like,
stands
I
up
didn't
and
get
runs.
the foul. Okay, I can get up and go.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid, but whatever. It is what it is.
I think it's
The
soft.
clock thing is just unnecessary. At least I understand the rationale.
I'd argue the flopping is unnecessary because they're not going to give you the foul anyway.
But they might. I get the rationale behind why guys dive. It's because they're trying to get the call. And sometimes it works, if we're being real. But with the clock thing, there's no rationale behind it. It's just because it's what they've always done. There's no other explanation for it other than, well, this is what we've always done. This is what we're going to do. Well, but there's a better way to do this. We can improve the product. We now have hydration breaks. That is not something they've always done, but they decided we can make money off of this. You know what else you could do? Stop the clock when the game is stopped. And then you can continue the clock, and then your viewers would know when the game is going to come to an end.
Here's a dumb question. Is the hydration break for the players or for the grass?
What?
Is it turn the sprinklers
Fair
on?
question.
What do we really need the hydration break for?
T-Bone, why do they do that?
Are we trying to make it difficult? The grass.
Well, I understand why guys need to drink water.
Why are we making the grass
I think it's
slippier?
so the ball moves a little bit
Slippery
quicker. Or slower, maybe. Excuse me, slower. At times it starts to speed up a little. I think that's right. It's either speeds it up or slows it down, one or the other.
Is it necessary?
I was going to say, why are we doing that again?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
That's like when you're playing golf on the green and
one
they
of those things I was just curious.
Do you
about.
really need to water the infield dirt before a baseball game?
Fair question.
I
think it's the same
but
thing.
But they're not stopping the game in the middle of to do
No,
it.
that's fair. But they do come out and rake the field during in between innings.
between innings. So
That's
they don't,
necessary.
They don't stop.
No.
The dirt gets all piled up, man.
They don't stop the game to water the grass.
It makes it look pretty.
Yeah, somebody said the reason they do it is so that they can sponsor it. That's why they did it. Somebody said, hey, Gatorade wants to throw a lot of money at us. Give them hydration
And the best part
breaks.
is the players forget that the sprinklers come on. Have you seen all the videos of guys walking and bam, sprinkler?
Oh, yeah.
Is BT joining us?
I've heard nothing from Sir Brad Thompson.
Sir BT.
Sir Brad Thompson of the Cardinals.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on
with the
101
kids.
ESPN. Coming up next, we'll talk a little bit about the Cardinals' first half of the season, what the biggest storylines have been, and what we're expecting them to do this weekend against the Atlanta Braves. That's next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Cardinals fell to the Brewers 8-4 last night. They dropped 4 of 5 against Milwaukee. Tonight they start their final set before the All-Star break. 3 games with the Atlanta Braves. 7:15 first pitch tonight. Chris Sale on the mound for Atlanta. Kyle Leahy will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Cardinals back in action this weekend against the Atlanta Braves. They've done pretty well so far against the Braves this season. I'd be curious to see what it looks like as they go up against Chris Sale and Reynaldo Lopez over the next couple of days. Cardinals offense has not been as good at home as it has been on the road this season. Yesterday, I thought they overall were fine, though, and they just couldn't get that big hit. You know, like you got into the 8th inning, you had a chance. You had the tying run at the plate with Lars Nootbaar, and you couldn't drive it in. It happens. But this is a big weekend for them as they finish out the first half of the season. As we mentioned earlier, MLB draft this weekend as well. That's something that'll be happening behind the scenes Saturday afternoon. If you want our full thoughts on that, check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app. That podcast is sponsored by
Shea Fedor Company.
Alex, what are you anticipating from the Cards this weekend?
I'm anticipating them basically pulling out all the stops to pull off this series win, because I think the most important thing for the Cardinals, and it kind of resembles why they treated this Brewers series the way that they did, was to try and end on a positive note and win this series against the Braves. I am anticipating, though, the Braves being a little bit more aggressive in this series as well. I have to imagine there's a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth for how that previous series went, and they got to be viewing it the same as the Cardinals of like, we need to go into the break on a positive note because the Phillies are turning it on so much. I think when you're going up against Sale and Reynaldo Lopez, that's a much more difficult matchup for the hitting side of things, which you mentioned has not been very good at Busch Stadium. But the pitching side of this one as well, I think the one you feel best about is what? Dustin May? And then after that, you've got Liberator and
Leahy tonight. Leahy versus Sale is just like hopefully the offense gets going.
That's the part that worries me.
Leahy's been good of late.
Liberator is also the one that for me feels like, let's hope our offense has a big night tonight. So if I'm looking at it and I feel comfortable with one guy on the mound and Dustin May, I don't feel good about this series.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see because, like I said, in hindsight, the Brewers series, I don't feel bad about 3 of those losses, right? It's really just the one, and the offense kept you competitive in them. I think that's going to be the case here, and the tough part I have, and I know this sounds weird because the Braves are first in the NL East, I feel like the only teams that I have felt like I feel today that the Cardinals can't compete with, the Dodgers when they're healthy and trying in October, and then Milwaukee. That's it. I mean, I would probably pick Atlanta in this series to take 2 of 3, just the way the Cardinals are playing right now. But I don't say that with like my chest puffed out. Like I do think the Cardinals have a chance to take 2 of 3 and just kind of wash away that sour taste in our mouth from that Milwaukee series before they go to the break.
And it's not as though the Braves have been playing good baseball.
No.
They're 6-11 in their last 17 games. This is a team that really dating back to like early June, they were unbelievable. Their first 66 games of the season, they were 45-21. Since then, they're 9-17. I mean, you think the Cardinals have been playing some bad ball. Go ahead and take a look at what the Braves have been doing on that side of things. Pitching, they're just like constantly re-signing Carrasco and trying to make it work with him. That's not going to go well. He's a 6 ERA so far for them, and it's going to continue to be bad because that's who Carlos Carrasco is at this point in his career. The offense is disappointing relative to expectations for them. They're getting another bad season out of Austin Riley, who's now batting .205 and is a negative wins above replacement player. I don't know, man. This team doesn't strike fear in me. I'm scared of Sale. That's pretty much it, though. The rest of their roster is not something that I think you should be particularly fearful of. I think the Cardinals should take 2 out of 3 this weekend.
I think they should as well. And I think if they don't, I worry that the front office views it as, all right, we have what we believe is our team. Meaning, I think we know it. You saw them against the Braves. They struggled against the Brewers. Pitching's in a little bit of a tough spot. I think they view it more as a seller than a buyer if the series doesn't go their direction.
Yeah, I think the second half will do a lot to influence that as well. But big weekend for the Cardinals on the field for sure. When you look back at the first half, Alex, and we'll do more of this next week as we do some first half recaps. The biggest storyline outside of Jordan Walker, which is obviously the number one thing for the Cardinals, Your number one storyline for the Cardinals has been what, outside of Walker?
I would say J.J. Weatherholt, but bigger picture with J.J. Weatherholt is realizing your core. Because I think they look at this as Walker, Weatherholt, Herrera, and Burleson. Welcome to our core. And you got the answers that Nolan Gorman's not a part of it anymore. I think you may have the answers that Victor Scott might not be it. So Weatherholt tied into, like, you figured out what the identity of at least your core four is moving forward.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it is, because Weatherholt would be my first. If you individualized it, he would be the first one to mind. But bigger picture is you know what the core is, right? And it's both in the good and the bad. Nolan Gorman, not a part of it. Victor Scott, I would bet today, not a part of it. But you've got Walker, you've got Weatherholt, Burley, and Herrera. That's a pretty good starting point. Most teams would love to start with 4 position players that can hit, and you've got that right now.
Yeah. I was say you're building towards it with Baez and Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest storyline of the first half, and I think the biggest storyline of the second half, if you end up falling out of it and sell, is going to be the other parts of the core that come along, and the Joshua Baez, the Quinn Matthews, and so on and so forth.
Pitching, I feel like, is going to be your second half storyline in terms of developing what that future looks like.
Yeah, and I would say on that front, like, I agree with you guys. I think that's the biggest story. If I was to go different, I would say another big piece of what we've learned this half is, hey, man, they've done a really good job of maximizing this pitching. Yeah. I'll give a lot of credit to their front office, to their coaching staff. Michael McGreevy has a 3 ERA. Andre Palante has an ERA below 4. They've fixed Dustin May, which is something that the Dodgers and the Red Sox, 2 teams known for their pitching prowess, have tried to do and failed to do in the past. And you were able to unlock that. Kyle Leahy right now is a 3.8 ERA. I think all of us would have signed up for that prior to the season if you had told us that was in play. Gordon Graceffo, who makes me nervous sometimes, has a 3 ERA. Justin Brule, who T-Bone's been trying to get rid of for 2 months, has a 3.7 ERA. Like, they've done a really good job of maximizing the options that they have in this pitching staff, despite not having a whole lot of swing and miss to speak of. So I would say that's another thing is I'm starting to gain a lot of faith in their pitching. And when I say staff, like their coaches plus front office.
Infrastructure.
Yeah. To be able to maximize what they have, even when it's a project that they're taking on from the outside.
Still some more faith in the team moving forward, too, of being able to identify and work with talented players.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll hit the rewind next year on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK, and it is time for you to unlock your inner champion. There's one place to do so, and that is with Victory Men's Health. They're my friends. They can be yours as well. Book your first appointment online at victorymenshealth.com. When you get over there, go to the top right corner of the page, click on Get Started. That is where you go to book that first appointment, and boy, is it an easy process. Put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. Maybe that's low testosterone symptoms that you've been dealing with. It could be weight loss goals that you're trying to meet. Maybe you want to learn more about red light therapy programs, cardiovascular testing, the vitamin infusions. It's all available for you today online at victorymenshealth.com. When you go for that first appointment, they'll do comprehensive lab work. You'll get that consultation with a licensed medical provider, and they will put together the personalized plan for you to unlock your inner champion. It's all available for you today at their 4 great locations across the St. Louis area. It's online at victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out after the show today on the podcast page. 101ESPN.com and the free 101 ESPN app is where you can go to find it. And that's always sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
Hey, by the way, over on YouTube, you can check out the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast. You can also check out the latest edition of the Redbird Report. Just go over to our 101 ESPN STL YouTube page. And if you click on videos, you'll be able to see the Last Minute Blues podcast, the Redbird Report. You can also find the Spread Zone over there as well. And if you would like to partner with any of those, you can do so. Just reach out to myself or Alex Ferrario. We have some new packages that are potentially now available. Alex, Cardinals back in action this weekend. We just discussed what they're potentially going to be able to do against the against, we've been doing this for like a week against the Brewers.
Feels like what COVID did with the Blues where they played the Coyotes every day.
Against the Atlanta Braves. They're on Apple TV tonight.
Good luck.
Again, Apple TV tonight, everybody. Don't get mad. That's the way that it's going to go.
Don't get mad. It's going to be there. We'll see it on Saturday.
They finish out the first half this weekend. They also have the Major League Baseball draft starting tomorrow. It will begin on NBC/Peacock, and then the Cardinals will select on MLB Network.
Oh, so that makes all the sense in the world,
Way
baseball.
to go, baseball. You guys are crushing
Idiots.
it. Crushing it.
In terms of the draft, because, again, we've already talked about what they're going to do on the field this weekend. What are you hoping for? What do you want to see the Cardinals do?
A lot of bats. I want a lot of offensive upside because I feel like that's where the pipeline is a little bit drier now compared to the pitching side of things. But honestly, I just want to hear the upside that the people break down in terms of who they draft. And I can't wait to see everybody combust when they take 5 shortstops.
I was thinking catcher. That's what I thought you were going to say.
That one I'll lose my mind on.
By the way, that seems to be the thing that a lot of people are projecting them to go with in the first round as a catcher from Arkansas.
Can't wait to have 5 of them on our 40, man.
I have no idea if the guy projects to be a catcher in the big leagues or not. I truly do not know. I typically try to wait to look into these guys until after the Cardinals select somebody.
If he's a Cardinal, he's a catcher until he gets to the majors. Then he's an outfielder.
If he does project to be a catcher, I would be fascinated to see what that means, because he's also a college kid from Arkansas.
Yeah, so he'd be like a double A by next year.
So he would immediately be in like the Leo Bernal, Rainiel Rodriguez, that range.
One, I'd lean into Crooks or Bernal are going to be traded at some point.
You've got to imagine, right?
Yeah. That one I could understand people saying.
I'm kind of rooting for it just for the chaos of it all.
Oh, God.
But I'm kind of with Alex. I hope they are drafting bats and then they take some swings on some high upside arms, whether that means it's a prep arm later on in the first couple rounds. But I wonder if 13 they look for somebody, if it falls their way. That's the other key aspect here, that they look at somebody and they draft him and they say, that's maybe our future third baseman. That's the one thing that I'm keeping an eye on for the draft.
I feel like that's going to be the biggest priority from them if I'm tinfoiling it of we've got to find an internal third baseman.
I'm hoping for a big college arm at number 13 overall, and then a bunch of prep bats from there. That's kind of what I'm rooting for them to do this weekend. I'll be fascinated to see how they go about it because they have ultimate flexibility.
8 catchers in the first 8 picks.
It's going to be amazing. All right, he's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. T-Bone out all of next week. He's going to go on some well-deserved vacation.
Adios.
Alex and I will, however, be in. So be sure to stay tuned next week. You guys have a fantastic weekend. The Fast Lane's got you covered next year on 101 ESPN.